I snapped awake, practically choking on my own breath. Qin Xiaoyu, are you even human? My head was pounding, veins throbbing against my skull. Look, man, you ever have someone you love just rip your heart out? It hurts. It hurts worse than taking a bullet. I raised that girl. After I was reborn here as an orphan, her folks adopted me. When they died in a car wreck, I put everything on my shoulders. Then the God-forsaken game dropped. The world literally ended. Monsters everywhere. I dragged her through hell, became one of the top 100 fighters on the planet just to keep her breathing. I even scored this mysterious ancient god's eyeball. And my reward? My own sister stabbing me in the back. She slipped some garbage called soul-wandering water into my drink. One sip, and I was a statue. I could hear her cold little voice ranting about how I ruined her life, how I was too strict, how she just wanted to see her precious pop idol, Song Fei. Get this, she literally carved my eyes out of my head so her favorite singer could steal my power. She actually believed he was going to buy me new eyes. As if that wasn't dumb enough, the potion he gave her was laced with lethal poison. I dropped dead on the floor while she was skipping out the door. The absolute joke of it all. Then, boom. I open my eyes again and I am staring at my old bedroom ceiling. Sunlight, breeze, pristine white sheets. I was back. Wait, am I really back? 9 whole years? I sat up, rubbing my face, brain doing gymnastics trying to process it all. The second the shock wore off, the ice-cold rage set in. Song Fei. Right. That pretty boy trainee who drove my sister crazy. She called me a tyrant because I wouldn't let her stay out all night drinking or running off to his shows. Man, on the day the apocalypse actually started, we were having a screaming match because I wouldn't let her skip her college calculus exam for his stupid concert. Calculus! She sneaked out anyway. When the world broke apart the very next day, I was the idiot who fought through hordes of monsters just to make sure she was safe. Everyone envied her for having a brother like me. But honestly, I guess 20 years of me bleeding for her couldn't compete with a guy doing synchronized dance routines. Brother Song Fei, she called him. What an absolute joke. That guy was a second-rate hack during the apocalypse. He wouldn't have survived a day in my boots. He ignored her for 9 years, but the second I found that ancient god's eyeball, suddenly he's knocking on her door. And she bought his romantic act. Man, I missed out on so much loot, so many god-tier zones, just because I was too scared of putting her in danger. If I hadn't been carrying dead weight, I would have been unstoppable. Well, lesson learned. In this life, I don't have a sister. Let us see how easy survival is when I only have to do the math for one. I mean, she is my adoptive parents' real kid. For the sake of the old man and the old lady, I will let her live. Once. After that, she can figure out how to survive the apocalypse on her own. But Song Fei? Oh, that guy is sitting right at the top of my kill list. The funny thing is, the second I decided to cut her out of my life, it felt like a 100-pound vest fell right off my chest. I felt light. Then, out of nowhere, a cold, robotic voice rings inside my skull. Ding! A string of glowing text pops up right in my face. Eye of Judgment activating. You have obtained the authority of judgment. Wait, seriously? The ancient god's eyeball actually came back through time with me, even after they ripped it out of my skull? I never could get that stupid eyeball to work in my past life, but now it was fully online. I closed my eyes and could literally feel this ancient, massive presence staring right back at me from the dark. These characters floated up great Shia text, plain as day. It said the authority of judgment was the most ancient, primordial power in the universe. It literally breaks the rules and order of the game. In my last life, nobody on this planet ever touched the power of order. Now I have got something that trumps it. Catch is, I don't have divinity yet to actively use it. But the passive ability, man, the math on this is insane. The moment I enter the God-forsaken game, it automatically hands me the highest tier talent. It's totally game over. In my past life, my talent was Emerald tier, rank 7 out of 13. You got your basics up to Gold and Platinum, then my boy Emerald. Above that? Diamond, Epic, Legend, Mythic, Ancient, and the big one Immortal. Emerald already put me in the top 100 globally, so I am sitting here thinking, am I pulling an immortal talent this time? I grab my phone. 8 in the morning on the dot. The Abandoned by Gods game is already live. Last time around, I was getting chewed out by my boss and wasted the whole day arguing with Qin Xiaoyu. Not this time. From 8 in the morning, anyone who falls asleep gets sucked into the game. Your real body goes completely ghost mode. People can see it, but they cannot touch it. You are straight up invincible in reality while your brain is logged in. Because that ghost body trick, the game goes viral in half a day. It is wild being reborn at the exact second it goes live. Thank God my insomnia means I keep prescription sleeping pills on my nightstand. You have to be dead asleep to log in for the first time. That is the golden rule. I pop a pill and hit the mattress hard. Meanwhile, over at Jianghai Normal University, my adopted sister Qin Xiaoyu is strolling to class. Her friend is begging her to call and apologize to me for skipping her exam for a concert. Xiaoyu just laughs. She tells her friend I am not her real brother, I am too controlling, and she has our parents' inheritance anyway, so who cares about me? She has absolutely zero clue that the guy she used to walk all over is completely done with her nonsense. Stick with me here, because this is where it gets crazy. She has no idea disaster just dropped on the world. Videos of people turning into ghosts in their sleep are already popping up, but nobody knows they are actually gaming yet. The news will not fully break for hours. But me? I am already out cold. My mind gets yanked through space until I land in this pitch-black room. Suddenly, gray text light the dark. Welcome to the Abandoned by God's game. Please choose your class. The text morphs into a massive spinning wheel showing the basics: warrior, mage, priest, archer, assassin. But right there at the edge is the random class button. It gives you a tiny shot at a hidden class. In my previous life, I played it safe. I picked warrior just so I could be a meat shield for Xiaoyu. Now warrior is not weak, but you move like molasses. Great for taking hits, terrible for clearing monsters solo. Since I am banking on a massive talent anyway, I can afford to gamble. I slam that random class button. The giant wheel spins, ticking past all the boring options, until the pointer lands dead on a massive question mark. My heart starts hammering. Did I actually pull a hidden class? The question mark twists into a sinister black symbol, like a Greek letter with razor-sharp blades on the ends. The system hits me with the news. I unlock Shadow, a unique hidden class. The passives are insane. Double stealth time, +1 to my stealth level, and double damage if I hit an enemy from their blind spot. I am grinning like an absolute maniac. This is the god of solo grinding. I remember someone got Shadow in my last life, but he died early, so nobody saw its late game potential. But these passives guarantee my survival, and survival is everything here. See, if you die in the game, you lose half your actual real-world lifespan. You farm monsters to earn more, and lifespan straight up becomes the global currency. If your clock hits 0, you die. You even burn lifespan to pull your weapons into the real world, so staying alive is priority 1. But Shadow is not just for hiding. Double damage from a blind spot means striking from stealth hits like a freight train. It makes my old warrior class look like an absolute joke. I am beyond thrilled. Once I get my build going, even the thickest meat shield will not survive a single stab in the dark from me. I check my starting skills. Shadow Veil gives me 8 seconds of stealth, 30 bonus damage on break, and a 30-second cooldown. Backstab enhancement just adds 10% damage from behind. Real garbage tier stuff. I'm doing the math out loud, and my Shadow class passive doubles stealth to 16 seconds. Still shy of infinite stealth. I was pretty bummed, man. But then, boom! My Authority of Judgment passive kicks in, dropping a talent called Infinite Evolution. It says I get points by soloing monsters to upgrade skills. I started with 5 points. But get this, it's an original primary talent, gray-white quality. I'm standing there like, what the hell? I expected an immortal teardrop, not some bodega trash quality I've never heard of. It looked like a total joke. You and I both know you can't judge a skill by its cover. It's all about the stats. I figured I'd try this Infinite Evolution on Shadow Veil. It cost 1 point. Boom. It jumped to common tier, stealth went to 12 seconds, bonus damage hit 60, and cooldown dropped to 28. I'm doing the math with my passive, that's 24 seconds of stealth. I threw 2 more points at it, bringing it to bronze. The base stealth hit 16 seconds, bonus damage cranked to 90, and cooldown fell to 26. You see where this is going, man? My passive doubles, that's 16 to 32 seconds of pure stealth. That completely beats the cooldown limit, since the timer starts the exact second you pop the skill. I was grinning like an absolute idiot. It actually worked. Infinite stealth was officially mine, plus 90 bonus damage every time I break it. Early game, normal classes max out at maybe 30 attack power. 90 is just ridiculous. But wait, I'm doing the math, my class passive doubles damage if the enemy can't see me. So that 90 is actually 180 extra damage. I literally whistled out loud in that empty room. My starting stats were matching what used to take me a full day of grinding. This talent was the real deal. The name Infinite Evolution meant I could just keep farming points to make these skills absolutely busted. I wanted to upgrade my stealth again, but it needed 3 points, and I only had 2 left. Total bummer, man. So, I just shrugged, took the loss, and dumped one of my last points right into backstab enhancement instead. Backstab enhancement bumped to common, pushing the damage bonus to 15%. It sounds small, but I'm doing the math. If I crank that bonus up to 100% and stack it with my class multiplier, I'm talking quadruple damage on a backstab. I survived 9 brutal years of this game before, so I know exactly how broken these numbers can get. Could stealth eventually have 0 cooldown? In my past life, skills and gear were set in stone. You got what dropped, end of story. But this talent completely shatters the rules. I was going to steamroll absolutely everyone. I chuckled to myself, shaking my head at how beautifully unfair this was going to be. Alright, enough geeking out, I muttered out loud to nobody. I had 1 point left, but it was finally time to jump in. I couldn't afford more upgrades, so I triggered the login. A box popped up asking for an alias. I just typed shadow in the field. The box vanished, and the darkness around me began fading. I felt cold cobblestones under my boots. My vision focused on this beat-up, creepy little town, washed out in silver moonlight. Total ghost town vibes. A few other players in black robes were stumbling around the plaza, looking clueless. No NPCs in sight, which was honestly a blessing. Stick with me here, the NPCs in this game aren't just code, they're alien grifters who will literally scam you out of your lifespan if you blink wrong. But we fresh players had 0 tradable lifespan, so we were worthless to them anyway. Then, that cold system voice finally hit my ears. Welcome to the abandoned land of the gods. The system started its usual doom and gloom speech about monsters, and how dying costs half your literal lifespan. A first-timer would be shaking in their boots, but honestly, I didn't even flinch. I just popped open my map. It read Shelltown Peaceful Zone with a standard lifespan depletion rate. I muttered the name out loud. It was a different spot than my last life, probably because I logged in at a different time. This game has over 100 million of these safe zones, capped at 1,000 players each. They sort us by where we live and when we log in, meaning everyone wandering around here was from my neck of the woods in Jianghai City. I checked the player counter floating in my interface. 127 clueless guys were already here. I made 128. Time to get to work. I call out for my status panel. After scanning the map data, I dive straight into my attributes. Here, your stats dictate if you live or die. My alias is Shadow level 1. My non-tradable lifespan sits at 75 years. Everyone starts with a flat 10 in core stats across the board, but I look at the class bonuses in the parentheses, and my jaw hits the floor. Strength is 10 plus 3, Constitution is 10 plus 3, Agility is 10 plus a massive 8, Spirit is 10 plus 5, plus I got 5 free points to spend. I am literally doing the math out loud right now. The Shadow class is totally busted. My old warrior class only tossed me 3 measly points in Strength and Constitution. This hidden class is feeding me raw stats like crazy right out of the gate. Look, you and I both know how these games usually go, right? Everyone dumps their points into Strength to hit harder, or Spirit for magic stuff. But in this abandoned by God's game, bro, Agility is the only thing that actually matters. People think they need to hit like a truck, but they forget one insane detail. If you die here, you lose years off your real, actual life. If you can't dodge, you are literally dead meat. Those early game monsters will absolutely mop the floor with you. I already had this bronze tier skill called Shadow Ambush, which basically hits as hard as 90 strength anyway. I did the math right there and realized I didn't need damage. I needed to be fast. Fast enough to jump in, stab, and run for my life. So, I took my 5 free attribute points and dumped every single one straight into agility. I pulled up my stats to see what I was working with. Health was at 130, defense 13, resistance 15. My attack was 13, plus 10 from this garbage scrap iron short blade the game tossed, 23 total. Just a low-quality piece of junk, but it felt decent enough in my hand. Most rookies start with exactly 23 attack, which just proves how broken my 90-point stealth strike was going to be. I gripped that cheap little blade and made a beeline for the town exit. I needed to farm monsters to level up, but here is the sick twist nobody else had figured out yet. These things do not just stand around waiting to get farmed. To them, every player walking out of a safe zone is just a walking meal of fresh lifespan. They actively hunt you down in packs to drain your life away. There are 2 types of lifespan here. Non-tradable just keeps you breathing, and my clock said 75 years. But tradable lifespan, that is the gold mine. You use it to buy resources, or even pull crazy gear and skills straight into the real world. But you only get it by ripping it away from monsters, and those bastards are trying to do the exact same thing to us. If they kill you, they steal your time and evolve into worse nightmares. It is straight up survival of the fittest, and weak players are nothing but prey. Back in my last life, I had it rough, mostly because I was dragging around this girl who was basically an anchor tied to my ankle. But this time around, I am flying completely solo, man. No dead weight holding me back. Without having to play babysitter, my leveling speed is going to be totally off the charts. I kept my short blade in hand and headed for the edge of town. The plaza was filling up with players. I walked past this chubby dude looking around like he was lost, asking his buddy if he was hallucinating after pulling an all-nighter. The guy in glasses next to him was just as clueless, babbling about falling asleep at his keyboard. I just ignored them. I had zero time to play tour guide. Suddenly, 5 streaks of bright white light flashed right in front of me. I almost forgot I was standing by the respawn point. 5 players materialized out of thin air. The leader was this girl in a black shirt who looked absolutely furious. They had clearly just gotten wiped out in the wild. You could hear the guys behind her whining about how some trash tier level 1 crawler took off their health in one bite. Just like that, their lifespan was already slashed in half. The group turned to the girl in the black shirt. She was holding a worn-out longbow, which told me right away she was a hidden class since normal archers only get short bows. She notices my weapon doesn't match the starter trash and figures I am a hidden class too. A quiet girl from her squad walks up and asks me to join them. Her big selling point? She tells me they have experience because they already died once. I had to bite my lip to keep from laughing. Yeah, great experience in getting slaughtered. I just shook my head, ignored her entirely, and kept walking straight toward the gate. They got incredibly offended. I could hear them whining behind my back, calling me an absolute idiot for going out alone when their 5-man group just got smoked by a single bug. Let them talk, I had monsters to hunt. So this group is just standing there laughing, completely clueless. This chick, Sister Lee, decides to snoop on my profile as I walk by. She actually calls my codename Shadow Pretentious. Yeah, okay lady. She tells her little squad to follow me and watch me die so they can learn the monster patterns. Nice people, right? Anyway, I get to the edge of town, just some busted old fences. The second I cross, I know they're creeping behind me, so I hit my skill. Boom. Shadow ambush. I literally melt into the air. I can just picture their dumb faces. The assassin guy is probably losing his mind, screaming about how I got stealth at level 1. Yeah, buddy, deal with it. They ended up scurrying back to the safe zone, terrified because dying already cost them half their lifespan. I didn't hear their exact words, but I knew those clowns were back in town arguing over the crawler they barely scratched. They probably hoped to find treasure in the safe zone. Spoiler alert, there's nothing in that town. Meanwhile, I'm already deep in the thick of it. I pop my Shadow Veil skill and step onto the scorched dirt. The skill is insane, man. No footsteps, no heartbeat, no breathing. I'm a ghost. Without anti-stealth radar, I'm completely invisible, especially since my class gives me a bonus stealth level. I walk 100 yards into these scrawny woods and finally spot it. The crawler. Level 1, common grade, but it's advancing. I realize this ugly bastard is the exact same one that just wiped out Sister Lee's squad and is busy digesting their lifespan. Usually monsters hide to level up, but this greedy piece of garbage is just waiting for more kills. I mutter to myself, alright ugly, spit out those years. I time it perfectly, chaining my stealth so I never flicker into view. Creeping up, the smell hits me straight up rotting garbage. It's a pale, faceless freak with long thin limbs, soaking in a gray mist of stolen lifespan. I slip right behind it, raise my scrap iron blade, and jam it into its neck. The nape is a weak point, giving me a 1.5 damage multiplier. A massive negative 372 pops up, the thing collapses instantly. I look at my hands thinking, man, this shadow class is totally busted. But I know it's really my evolved skill adding 90 attack power that did most of the work. Without my evolved skill, my damage wouldn't be half of that. The system chimes in with 10 experience points, and the mist from its corpse rolls into a glowing orb. I grab it. A notification pops. 3 days of tradable lifespan, and 54 years of non-tradable. I do the math out loud. 5 players died, 20 years a pop, that's over 100 years. It only spat out 54. What a ripoff. Non-tradable lifespan is useless right now. It just ticks down while you're alive. Tradable lifespan is the real prize. That's what lets you extract gear and classes into the real world. But 3 days? I can't jack with 3 days. I definitely need to hunt more monsters. The mist soaks into my skin, and I bend down to grab the loot, 1 piece of gear and a shiny skill book. So I'm doing the math on the loot from this level 1 crawler. Rotten skin boots, gray quality, plus 3 physical defense and a 5% speed boost. Toss in a white quality ice spike skill book for mages. 2 drops at once is crazy luck, even if neither really helped my build. I laced up the boots, totally bummed I didn't score any evolution points to level up. I popped Shadow Veil and ghosted deeper into the woods. Picture this, though. While I'm creeping around, clueless rookies are pouring out of Shell Town. This couple stumbles right onto my fresh kill. The guy, a warrior named Nugang, starts puffing his chest out to his priest girlfriend, Guan Xiaoya. It actually reminded me of me and Xiaoyu back in the day. This clown is bragging about how easy the game is, completely blind to the massive dark shadow dropping from the tree right above his stupid head. So there's Nugang, running his mouth with total confidence. Dude's built like a brick house, strutting out front like he owns the place. And his girl, Xiaoya. Honestly, she was even more jacked than he was, gripping this cheap priest staff. Suddenly, there's this heavy swoosh of air. They had the reflexes to look up, but they were way too slow. Bam! 2 thick ropes of pale spider silk whip down, pinning them to a tree. Then this 8-foot-tall, pitch-black spider drops down on a thread. They just start screaming their heads off. I'm just chilling in the shadows, checking the stats. Level 1 Nurturer. Bronze grade. A mini-boss. Killing one means guaranteed evolution points. I'm crunching the numbers in my head. A Bronze Nurturer parapacks about 1,500 to 2,000 health points. Absolute death sentence for level 1 rookies. No matter how many noobs rushed it, they were dead meat. But here's the real kicker. See, I figured this mini-boss would have a squad of backup spiders. I just watched from the dark. I wasn't playing hero. Right on cue, the branches started rustling, and a swarm of level 1 child spiders came scurrying down the webs. They had legs 3 feet long and these nasty compound eyes. Over a dozen of them zeroed right in on our happy couple. Nugang, the tough guy. His legs were literal jelly now. Stuck in that webbing with garbage rookie stats, they had zero chance of breaking out. They just had to watch as the swarm crawled over them and started biting. The screaming was brutal, damage numbers bleeding out over their heads until they both dropped dead. Their lost lifespan popped out like glowing white orbs, and the little spiders swarmed in to feast. That was my opening. I launched myself from the shadows, my blade flashing toward one of the nurturer's massive eyes. -338! Weak point hit! The boss took the damage, and suddenly 100 huge compound eyes locked onto me. But before it could spit an ounce of webbing, I vanished back into stealth. The big guy literally froze in confusion. Down below, the baby spiders were too busy fighting over the couple's dropped lifespan to notice. I waited in the cut, doing the 26 seconds later, my shadow concealed cooled down. I popped up on its blind side and jammed my scrap iron blade into another eye. Another 338. Boom, back into the shadows. Its health bar was just over half. 3 more hits, I told myself. I backed way off, which was smart. The boss threw a massive tantrum, spraying thick spider silk everywhere. That blast would have instantly wiped a full 6-man party, but I was totally safe. I waited out my cooldown again, watching this huge bug twitch around. But man, its weak spots were massive. I gripped my blade and went in for round 3. -338. I slashed it and faded right back out. You and I both know it's a totally shameless hit-and-run tactic, but hey, it works. These beasts aren't brain dead, though. Once its health dipped to a third, the giant spider leaped up and scrambled into a nearby tree. 2 hits left, I thought, completely calm. I let my stealth cooldown finish and just grabbed a rock from the dirt. See, in this game, every single object has stats. This fist-sized stone, 2 points of physical attack. I lined up my pitch and beamed that rock right at the boss. Smash! Right in its soft belly. -279. Because my build stacked huge damage bonuses on stealth break attacks, even throwing gravel hit like a freight train. I vanished again instantly. The big guy was panicking now, scurrying through the branches to run away. The baby spiders finished their meal and started hunting for me, but it was useless. By the time they checked my spot, I was already 70 feet away. I chucked one last rock at the giant spider. This boss was huge, slow, and honestly a complete joke to hit. -279. The system chimed immediately. I bagged 300 experience and hit level 2. Better yet, I scored 2 evolution points and unlocked the Shelltown leaderboard, snagging a free reputation point. But here's the hilarious part. A server-wide broadcast blasted into the heads of all 300 players back in town, announcing that my alias, Shadow, was the very first to level up. These players were mostly locals from my city, still freaking out about this death game. That tough guy Nugang and his girl, respawning after getting eaten, completely speechless. And this other squad, led by a woman named Sister Pier, tearing the town apart looking for clues? When my notification dropped, every single one of them stopped dead in their tracks, absolutely stunned. I can only imagine the meltdown happening back at the safe zone. Picture this. They pull up the leaderboard, and there's exactly one name at level 2 shadow. Just me. That girl with the bow, Sister Pier, is probably staring at the screen like her brain just short-circuited. Her squad got wrecked by a basic level 1 mob, and here I am soloing a bronze tier boss. I can basically hear her whining about how it isn't scientifically possible. While I'm hauling in loot, her buddies New Gang and Xiaoya just popped back at the respawn point. The system hits them with the harsh reality. Half their lifespan is gone. Poof. From 50 years down to 20 in an instant. You and I both know they were standing there looking like they swallowed a lemon, finally realizing this game does not mess around. You and I both know how gamers react when things go totally off script, right? While I'm out there putting in the work, other players are completely losing their mind. Take this girl Guan and her buddy Niu. She's pale as a sheet, asking if the lifespan drain is legit. He's trying to play it cool, saying it's impossible, but he's sweating too. Then bam! The system notification hits everyone. I, going by the name Shadow, just killed the nurturer and hit level 2. It absolutely broke their brains. They couldn't fathom how one guy soloed a massive spider with a dozen minions when they couldn't even scratch it. They straight up thought I was a ghost. Meanwhile, back in Shell Town, the population spiked to 500 confused souls in black robes. They're grabbing anyone they can, begging for answers that nobody has. Complete chaos. Not everyone was running around like headless chickens though. This kid with bleached blonde hair is standing in the square, yelling his lungs out. He's warning everyone that dying cuts your lifespan in half, trying to recruit a squad like he's running a guild in a regular online game. Some listened, but others were way ahead of him. Over by the town exit, this absolute brick-house of a dude named Wang Meng was already wrangling a team of 6. He tells his group to treat it like a real game, but play for keeps. He's bragging about being a divine shield warrior with a starting invincibility skill, telling them to just focus on pure damage. The guy actually managed to handpick a squad of hidden classes. Meanwhile, you had these hardcore gaming addicts who usually just grind ranked matches all day. They're hyping each other up, thinking this whole death game scenario was just a stage for them to show off. Gamers, man. You had these bro gamers shouting that they might suck at real life, but nobody beats them at gaming. They were basically just looking for a cute healer to carry. Classic. This was happening globally, by the way. Thousands of towns filling up with people from North America, Europe, everywhere, all ripped from their sleep and dropped into this mess. Most were terrified, but a few tryhards were already pulling ahead. Like me, obviously. I just hit level 2, unlocked the leaderboard, and grabbed a rep point. I barely even looked at the notification. Rep is great for buying high-tier gear later, but right then, I was invisible, standing over the nurturer's corpse, eyeing my loot. First up, the lifespan. I grabbed this grayish-white orb floating over the dead spider. Bam, 46 days of tradable lifespan. That's more than a dozen normal mobs combined. Normally, you'd have to split that among huge squads, leaving everyone with absolute crumbs. Since I soloed this ugly bug, I kept the whole pie to myself. I yanked 3 pieces of loot from under its legs. One was a skill book that made my eyes light up. Jackpot. It was Greedy Hand, a bronze assassin skill giving a 20% chance for extra loot from a corpse. 20% sounds kind of weak, right? But here's the kicker, I can evolve it. The boss dropped some gear too, but I ignored it. I'm doing the math out loud. I had 1 evolution point. The boss dropped 2, so I've got 3 total. I can evolve this bad boy twice. I knew right then I was about to break the game. Anyone with Greedy Hand gets treated like absolute royalty by the big guild. You bust your hump killing a boss, and this skill gives you a shot at double the reward. And the extra loot includes tradable lifespan. My only question was whether it included evolution points too, since they technically count as loot. My brain was absolutely spinning with the possibilities. Screw it, let's just evolve the thing and find out, I muttered to myself. I fired off the command, burning 1 point. The skill jumped from bronze to silver, and the extra loot chance doubled from 20 to 40%. I couldn't stop grinning. Keep going. I blew my last 2 points and pushed it straight to gold. Boom, the chance spiked up to 70%. My heart was hammering. If I evolve this one more time, it's gotta hit 100%, right? Normally, this skill is stuck at bronze forever. But with my infinite evolution talent, I'm tearing up the rulebook. I'm looking at a future where every single monster hands over double the loot. I wasn't going to wait around. Still completely invisible, I aimed at the nurturer's massive corpse and fired off Greedy Hand. There were a dozen creepy spiderlings crawling around the body, totally clueless that I was standing right next to them, about to rob their dead mom blind. Let the magic happen. This massive golden hand shot out of the ground and grabbed the nurturer's corpse. The system chimed. Boom! I scored 2 more evolution points and another 46 days of tradable lifespan, plus 3 brand new pieces of loot burst out from the body. I let out a loud laugh. 70% odds, and it actually paid out. Good thing this isn't a rigged mobile game. Those Evo points and lifespan were absolutely clutch. The actual gear? Whatever. I could only use the skill book and 1 weapon. I figured I'd hawk the rest in town, though honestly, nobody has the lifespan currency to afford my hand-me-downs yet. I checked out the weapon. A bronze-tier corroded dagger giving 35 attack and 4 agility. I tossed my garbage scrap iron blade immediately. Hitting level 2 had already bumped my base attack to 25, but with this sweet new dagger, my attack instantly doubled to 50. I was practically a walking cheat code. So get this, my stats had literally doubled. My actual damage didn't double, since my heavy hitting came from the Shadow Veil sneak attack, but still, I checked the rest of the loot. Just common tier gear and a skill book. Time to mop up the small fries. 12 spiderlings were still hanging by the boss corpse, and I needed those evolution points. I popped out, sliced one right open, and finished the thing in 1 shot. Before they even twitched, I was back in the shadows. Infinite stealth is beautiful, man. But here is the crazy part. While I was grinding, I found out later that back in the real world, Xiaoyu was in class when some guy fell asleep on his desk. Out of nowhere, his body went completely transparent, like a ghost. His roommate started screaming, completely losing his mind, and the whole class was just staring at this kid fading away. So, picture this, right while I'm already grinding in the game, absolute chaos is breaking out back in reality. In my sister's college class, this bald professor literally stops mid-sentence. Why? Because some kid in the front row falls asleep and turns entirely transparent. People are freaking out, trying to shake him, and their hands just pass right through the guy's chest like he's made of smoke. The whole room loses its mind. My wonderful, stuck-up sister, Qin Xiaoyu, who always acts like she's God's gift to New York, stands on her tiptoes in her little white dress just to get a look. She whips out her phone, scrolls through the feeds, and sees it's not just this one dude. Group chats are blowing up with pictures of transparent sleeping people everywhere. The professor just bails, yelling that class is dismissed so he can call the dean. So the whole classroom is buzzing, right? Everyone is snapping pics and panicking. Xiaoyu's friend Chu Yan is freaking out, asking if she's gonna call her brother me. And my sister? She just rolls her eyes, totally cold, saying I only want to control her and she's waiting for an apology. I mean, honestly, if I had been there, I would have laughed in her face. In my past life, I was that total sucker. I actually drove down to her school, groveled, and brought her into the game with me like she was royalty. And what did I get for it? She literally gouged my eyes out later. Yeah, you heard that right. So in this life, she could wait until hell freezes over. To me, that girl was completely dead and buried. I wasn't about to make a single phone call. Meanwhile, this phantom sleep thing is spreading across the entire globe like wildfire. The government suits were clueless, begging people on the news to stay awake. Good luck with that. Down in the God-abandoned land, players were waking up and realizing the harsh truth. You cannot log off until you hit level 3. I was already deep in the dark forest, slaughtering everything. Leveling solo early on is brutal, and teaming up splits your experience and lifespan down the middle. Back in Shell Town, it took 20 long minutes for some elite guy named Wang Meng and his crew to hit level 2. Then there was this blonde idiot who tried running a 50-player mob, but the monsters just ran away from the huge crowd. Absolute rookies. As for me, I finally sliced down a level 1 crawler and hit the jackpot. 3 evolution points in the bank. You and I both know the grind is real. Those 12 baby spiders I smashed earlier only coughed up 2 evolution points, and 1 was pure luck from my greedy hands. Farming trash mobs is a total headache. I kept my stealth active, moving through the trees like a ghost, and took out 5 more level 1 crawlers. The 5th one finally dropped that sweet 3rd evolution point. Time to upgrade. I dumped all 3 points into greedy hand, bumping it from gold straight to platinum. The new stats were insane: 110% chance for extra loot. In this game, breaking 100% means 1 guaranteed drop, plus a 10% chance at a second bonus drop. I popped the skill on the dead crawler right there. Boom. 2 evolution points and 6 days of tradable lifespan. I hit that 10% chance on the first try. 2 extra drops in 1 shot. I held on to those new points for a minute, doing the math in my head. Evolving a skill for the 4th time takes 5 points, not 4, so the cost definitely ramps up hard. Since my damage and survival stats were fine, I focused strictly on economy skills to snowball my lead. I was sitting on 146 days of tradable lifespan. Pulling gear into the real world, that costs 900 days minimum, 2.5 years of life. Plus, I still had to hit level 10 first. I kept creeping through the dark woods in stealth until I heard a nasty scuffle up ahead. I peeked through the brush and just grinned. A level 2 bronze boss, the Swift Runner, was practically waiting for me. I spotted this thing called a Swift Runner, a 6-legged freak with no eyes and a rotting mouth, moving faster than a cab on an empty avenue. If a new player ran into this boss, they were absolute toast. I took a quick look at my own agility stat. Thanks to my shadow class and that bronze-grade corrosion dagger, I was sitting at 34 points. Let's do the math here. 10 base agility gets you about 3 meters a second walking, or 9.5 sprinting. With my 34 points, I was moving at 5.83 meters a second normally, and hitting 17 or 18 meters a second in a dead sprint. That was just enough to match this boss. I hung back in the shadows and watched it chase down a party. Up front was Wang Meng, the second-ranked guy in Shell Town, eating hits with a trash shield. He had 5 players behind him, but their mage and marksman could not land a single hit. The boss just kept dodging, tearing the big guy apart. Look, you gotta understand, Wang Meng's Holy Shield Warrior class was built like a brick wall. 30% more health and defense than anyone else. He had breezed through level 2 without breaking a sweat, but against this bronze-grade boss, the guy was getting clobbered, and the boss still had 90% of its health left. His marksman buddy missed 2 more shots and started complaining about the boss being too fast. Wang Meng told them to just keep firing, saying they could always just respawn and finish it off. Buddy was being way too optimistic. While they were distracted, 3 level 2 polluters crawled out of the woods. These humanoid freaks were covered in dark brown sludge and started lobbing toxic mud at the back line. One massive glob slammed right into their mage's chest. I mean, it hit her so hard she lost 32 health in an instant. She started gagging from the smell, completely grossed out, but the monsters didn't care. They just kept pitching sludge like it was the World Series. You and I both know how fast a bad pull goes sideways. Sludge projectiles are flying in stupid fast, and these guys have nowhere to dodge. The real kicker, a bronze-grade boss, the Swift Runner, is breathing right down their necks. If they scatter their tank, Wang Meng cannot shield them. They wipe in 2 hits flat. I am just watching this squad panic as their health bars plummet. Thing is, I know Wang Meng from before my rebirth. Back then, I cracked the global top 100 with a basic warrior class. People treated me like a real legend. Wang Meng actually idolized me, which is wild because he had a stacked hidden holy shield class, but my raw power still put him to shame. We did a lot of business later on when he bought my extra guild loot in exchange for tradable lifespan. In my past life, I built a guild just for protection. This time, not happening. Still, Wang Meng is a solid guy to know. I need a wealthy buyer to dump extra gear for lifespan, and his government ties mean he is loaded. Since I have to clear these monsters anyway, I figure I might as well step in and leave a good impression. I drop into stealth and sneak up on a polluter. It is busy chucking mud at a girl with a staff, totally clueless. I swing my corrosion dagger, nailing a neck weak point for 441 damage. 1 hit, 1 kill. The thing melts into black sludge. The system chimes in with 20 experience, 4 days of tradable lifespan, and get this, 1 evolution point. I am honestly stunned. Dropping an evo point from a basic trash mob is insanely lucky. I toss out my greedy hand skill, scoring another 4 days of tradable lifespan. No extra evolution point, sadly. Greedy hand just gives a second loot roll, so missing the drop is standard math. Bosses are the only real way to farm those anyway. Before anyone registers what happened, I fade right back into stealth. Wang Meng and his squad are losing their minds. They just saw a level 2 monster melt, and all they caught was a blur. They are completely stunned. It takes them 10 seconds to kill a basic bug, yet I just one-shot this thing. Still, it takes the heat off their backline. That staff girl gets all hyped, yelling that a leaderboard pro is saving them. Honestly, she is so covered in mud with 0 health left you can barely see her face. But she is frantically darting around the dirt trying to stay alive. Wang Meng yells at his team to hold on. He pops Divine Barrier and a golden light wraps around him, giving him 3 seconds of invincibility to tank the Swift Runner boss. The crew finally gets some room to breathe. I wait out the chaos for half a minute, then pop up behind the second polluter. 0 warning, bam. Another instant kill. No evolution points this time, but I fire off Greedy Hand. And what do you know? A skill book drops. It is Virulent Dart. You throw a poison dart up to 12 meters. dealing 40 damage and applying a poison that drains 30% of your attack damage every second. Finally, a solid mid-range offensive skill. Getting this early on is a massive power boost. You have to understand, skill books almost never drop from trash mobs. I have killed an insane amount of monsters, and this is only my second drop ever. I only got this drop thanks to Greedy Hand. Bosses are usually the only reliable gear source, which is a death sentence for rookies. I don't hesitate. I use my points to evolve Virulent Dart twice, hitting Silver tier. The range extends to 14 meters, base damage hits 120, and the poison drains 50% of my damage every second. A massive upgrade. The last polluter turns to spit mud, but I casually flick my wrist and sink a dart into its head. I spent 9 years grinding in my past life, so my aim is pure muscle memory. I nailed a weak point for 237 damage. Sounds low, but it was looking at me, so I lost my double damage stealth bonus. But the second the dart lands, I vanish into thin air. The polluter turns sickly green, and heavy poison ticks start popping off. 158. Another 158. 2 poison ticks and the polluter melts. I am doing the math out loud. This damage over time is wild. Cause I went invisible after attacking, the poison triggers my class passive. My shadow class doubles damage when I am out of sight, so the poison doubles too. It is a beautiful loophole. Sadly, no loot here. Now it is just the main event. The bronze boss, the swift run. Wang Meng is dripping sweat, yelling he can't hold on. His priest is spamming heals, but his health bar is scraping bottom. They have 0 gear and are just flailing. The boss wins up to lunge. That is my cue. I pop up behind the swift runner and sink a dart right into its skull. Bam! 845 damage. Stealth bonus backstab and a weak point hit all stacked perfectly. One clean shot to seal the deal. Picture this. Wang Meng and his crew are sweating bullets, swinging at this swift runner boss for what feels like an hour, and they barely scraped off maybe 10% of its health. Then I step up. I flick one virulent dart and boom, half the boss's health bar just vanishes. You should have seen their eyes. They looked like they were gonna pop out of their skulls. Wang Meng actually cursed out loud. And that was just the base damage, man. Then the poison kicked in. Minus 324. 4 times in a row. The boss just turned puke green and face planted right in front of them. They couldn't even see my numbers, just the health bar melting. I hear them whispering, asking if I'm even human, freaking out because I nailed a moving target right in the head. So the boss drops this massive pile of loot, shining right there in the dirt. But under the game rules, it goes to the guy who did the most damage. Since I just nuked 90% of its health, that pile had my name written all over it. The system chimes in my head. 600 experience points, level 3, 2 evolution points, and 55 days of tradable lifespan. Not too shabby, right? I immediately pop Shadow Veil and vanish back into stealth. 26 seconds on that cooldown though. I'm standing there doing the math, thinking it's way too slow for farming. But I need to evolve my Greedy Hand skill first. I sneak over and swipe the loot right from under their noses. To them, the stuff just ghosted into thin air. Wang Meng actually punches his fist into his palm and thanks the empty air. Now, you and I both know you can't be too trusting in this game, right? So I throw my voice out from the shadows, telling them not to trust anyone in the wild. Look, outside the safe zones, it's open season. You die, you drop half your lifespan, tradable or not. I could easily wiped his whole squad right then and there to take their time, but honestly, they were broke as a joke. Not worth the effort. Wang Meng gets the hint, thanks me for the advice, and says to hit him up if I ever need a solid shield. He's a good dude. But then this girl behind him, completely covered in mud, starts waving her arms around like a maniac. She yells out that her name is Blackberry Plum and begs to add me as a friend. I almost blew my cover laughing. Her real name is Lin Liu, combined from her parents' names. In my past life, I actually ran a few quests with her. She was a hidden class called Prophet, stronger than your average mage, and eventually hit the big leagues with the Xia Empire. But right now, I just gave her a flat no. The older Oracle priest in their group had to physically drag her away while she whined. Watching them leave, I gave them some credit. With a Sacred Shield warrior and a hidden class healer, it makes sense they survived. But me? I was annoyed. My attacks were lethal, sure, but waiting on that stealth cooldown meant the whole fight took me 2 whole minutes. For most teams, surviving 2 minutes against a boss is a miracle, but for me, it's a total drag. I walked up to the dead boss, hit it with Greedy Hand, and scored 2 more evolution points and another 55 days of lifespan. Out of all that loot, only one piece fit my class. Swift Runner Skin Leg Guards. Bronze tier for assassins. Gave me +9 physical defense and +5 to all elemental resistances. Honestly, the defense was whatever, but it also came with a 15% boost to cooldown speed. I threw those on immediately, and my stealth cooldown dropped from 26 seconds down to 22.61 seconds. The math in this game is wild. It's base cooldown divided by 1 plus your cooldown speed percentage. Stack it high enough, and you're casting non-stop. Just one more evolution point and my greedy hand hits Jade tier. I slipped deeper into the dark forest, checking my stash. 268 days of lifespan already. Once my bags get full, I'm heading to town to cash in and pull this gear into the real world. But here is the catch, and you probably see where this is going. The more players that crowd into town, the more the monsters outside start teaming up. It turns into a total meat grinder. Take Shell Town right now. Wang Meng and his squad retreated to a level 1 zone to catch their breath, but the second they arrive, they stumble into a nightmare. A full team of 6 players is getting swarmed by over a dozen crawlers. One crawler is tough, but a dozen? Pure chaos. Some poor kid starts screaming before 3 of them jump his bones. Wang Meng locks in, raising that banged up shield of his. Meanwhile, Blackberry Plum is still literally crying because I rejected her friend request over some mud. But the second she sees the bloodbath, she wipes her tears, raises her staff, and gets ready to throw down. So picture this. Wang Meng was bracing himself for a massive fight, sweating bullets, when suddenly those 12 crawlers just stopped. They looked at his squad, realized these guys actually had some gear, and just bailed. But not before vacuuming up all the untradeable lifespan dropped by the players who had just died there. They couldn't digest it instantly, but man, they snatched it up fast, before scurrying off into the woods. Wang Meng and his crew were completely dumbfounded. These monsters were not playing by typical video game rules. The crawlers were fast, 2-knot swift runner fast, but fast enough that catching them was impossible. The players were just standing there, realizing these things knew how to bully the weak and run from a real fight. It gave everyone the creeps. This was not some normal game where mobs just wait to get farmed. They were forming hit squads. They were hunting us to steal our lifespan. Nobody knew what the monsters even did with it, but watching it happen, absolute nightmare fuel. Wang Meng told his crew to keep moving, and soon they ran into another 6-person group. Half of them were already dead, and the other 3 were running for their lives with 5 crawlers right on their heels. Wang Meng's mage and marksman fired off some spells, hitting 2 of the bugs and knocking off about 10% of their health. Then Wang Meng just hurled himself in, slamming his shield into the dirt and stunning all 5 of them. But honestly, this exact nightmare was playing out all over Shell Town. We thought we were the hunters, but these freaks were teaming up to slaughter us. Back at the revival point in town, it looked like a strobe light. Flashes going off non-stop as players respawned looking completely miserable. I heard guys panicking, saying we'd be stuck as vegetables in the real world if we couldn't hit level 3. Some idiot suggested bringing 40 people together to hunt, but that was a death sentence. A massive group had just tried that, lured in a boss called a Cursed One, and got 30 people wiped out in a single hit. So picture this, man. Back in Shell Town, people are absolutely losing their minds. They look at the town leaderboard and see my name, Shadow, sitting pretty at level 3. Meanwhile, these guys can barely scratch a single low-level mob without getting themselves killed. They are freaking out, wondering how I am soloing all this. While I am out there cruising, this girl's sister Lai goes by Pure spawns back at the plaza with her squad. She is looking mad stressed. Why? Because she just died for the 3rd time. Her actual lifespan dropped from 80 years down to 10. That is a brutal hit. She is terrified, not knowing if that death penalty is real life or just a game mechanic. Next to her, this quiet girl is practically shaking, asking what they are supposed to do while staring at an empty experience bar. Pier's squad busted their humps killing 4 crawlers, and after splitting it, they got less than 10 experience each. They needed 100 just for level 2. Those mobs run when they get hurt, so they only got the kills because Pier sniped them with her hidden class longbow. Desperate not to die again, she spots my name and gets a bright idea. She tells her crew to spread the word she is offering 1 million RMB for me to carry her. 1 million cash. While the town is buzzing about this rich girl, I am deep in the woods. I just spent my last 5 points to upgrade my greedy hand skill to emerald tier. Now I have a 160% chance for extra loot, plus a 20% chance to bump the loot up a whole tier. I was out there doing the math, feeling absolutely unstoppable. My eyes lit up at that skill description. If I keep upgrading this, I could hit a guaranteed 100% tier upgrade. Imagine dropping a bronze boss and getting silver gear, or a silver boss handing over gold. Perfect timing too. I had my eye on a boss called the Cursed One. It is this ugly Trent monster that smoked dozens of players, just hiding in the woods digesting their lifespans. I knew it was close to hitting silver tier. I figured I would let it cook since nobody else could touch it. I headed back to town to clear my bags. My 10-slot backpack was stuffed with gear I could not use, like the mage spell Ice Spike. Useless to me, but absolute gold to those players. I wanted to trade it all for lifespan. On the walk back I saw guys running for their lives from regular crawlers. I just watched. Honestly, I didn't even blink. Getting chased is standard early game nonsense. Soon, people will realize they just need to dump points into agility. You boost your speed, you outrun the swarm, and you catch the runners. That is exactly why I stacked agility. Approaching the Shell Town safe zone, I dropped stealth but immediately turned on face concealment. In this game, your avatar looks exactly like your real-life self. I am just a regular guy back home, so I could not risk my identity leaking. Being the top player makes you a massive target. I saw enough backstabbing in my past life to know better. Now, my face was completely hidden by a pitch-black veil. Just my eyes staring out from under a black robe, brown swift-skin leg guards, and rotting leather boots. Meanwhile, the town was absolutely packed with players having a full-blown meltdown over the monsters. The second I walked into town, every eye locked onto me. My dagger and leg guards had this bronze shine that screamed high-level loot. People started pointing and whispering, wondering if I was the shadow big shot. Suddenly, I am getting swarmed. One guy is yelling about a rich girl offering 10 million RMB for a carry. Another dude offers 100 grand just for a few tips. One girl is literally crying, offering crazy favors because she already died 4 times. Total chaos, bro. I kept my mouth shut, ignored the mob, and walked straight to the center plaza. I sat down by a busted flower bed and opened a stall. I dumped my 10 items in there and set the shop name. Equipment and skills clearance, only 10 minutes, buy while you can. With the entire town standing right there, people completely lost their minds when they saw the 2 bronze tier pieces. So there I am, listening to the crowd go absolutely nuts. Did this guy actually solo a bronze tier boss? That thing just flattened 30 guys. Man, they were looking at me like I grew a second head. Then this chick in a gray robe walks up with her squad. She has her face hidden same as me, but I know exactly who she is. Gray Rose, number 11 on the Shelltown leaderboard. She points at my Ice Spike skill book and asks the price. 100 days of tradable lifespan, I tell her. She balks, says it is too steep, asks to pay cash. I tell her flat out go use your cash to buy lifespan from some other poor sucker, then come back. She bites her lip, huddles up with her team for 30 seconds, and finally caves. Boom. Trade done. Just like that, I am sitting on 268 days of lifespan. I did the math. Rose and her crew had to pool every drop of lifespan they had just to afford my book. My balance jumps up to 368 days. But right as the trade clears, this girl violently shoves her way to the front. She actually ripped the sleeves off her starter robe to look edgy. Her alias is Yali. She looks down at me and drops the ultimate rich kid line. Carry me to level 3, and I will give you 10 million cash. My dad owns Great River Industries. The crowd completely loses their minds over the 10 million. But I just sit there on the flower bed, stare right back, and say, I refuse. Under my mask, I am just smirking. I honestly did not even recognize her earlier today. When you have lived through an entire past life like I have, you meet way too many people to remember every single entitled brat right off the bat. But the second she dropped the name Great River Industries, it all clicked. You and I both know the type. She was Jiang Li, the chairman's spoiled daughter. In my past life, this chick was an absolute monster. She would promise people real cash for their lifespan, set up a meet back in the real world, and then straight up murder them instead of paying. Over a dozen people fell for it. I never dealt with her back then since I was busy carrying Qin Xiaoyu and leveling slow. But now, I am not buying a word of her garbage. Sure, 10 million sounds great, but I am still just an ordinary guy in the real world. And her family has a literal army of hired thugs. Going to collect that check is basically a suicide mission. And honestly, cash is about to be completely worthless anyway. Very soon the only currency that is going to matter anywhere is lifespan. So I sat there, cold as ice, completely ignoring her. She literally froze. I guess her brain short-circuited at a guy turning down 10 million. She glares at me. Shadow, you might be tough here, but if you work for me, I can give you cars, houses, whatever you want. I just waved her off. If you are not buying, get out of the line. Man, she looked ready to explode. She is a corporate princess, nobody tells her no. She flashed this psychotic look, hid it behind a fake smile and stormed off. Let her go. Nobody else realizes this game is about to collapse the real world, and her daddy's company will soon mean zero. Meanwhile, this sketchy guy with an arm tattoo started trailing after her. Introduced himself as Old Mao. He told her he was level 2, knew some neat tricks, and asked if a cool 1 million payout was still on the table for a carry. I heard about this next part later, but get a load of this guy. Old Mao tells her the big secret to leveling is dumping all 5 starter points into agility to outrun the crawlers. Jiang Li realizes she already screwed herself by putting everything into strength. She agrees to his help, but tells him since he is not me, she will only pay him 5 million back in reality. Old Mao accepts in a heartbeat, probably thinking I was a total moron for passing up a payday. If only that poor idiot knew what she actually did to people who tried to collect. While they were shaking on their death pact, I was busy making a killing. I cleared out my whole inventory. Gear sells for way less than skills, so I dumped 2 mediocre bronze tier pieces for about 40 days of lifespan each. After fencing all 10 items, I walked away with nearly 300 extra days in the bank. I walked away with 546 days of tradable lifespan. Not a bad payday. I figured the cursed one was silver tier by now, so I packed up and slipped out of town. Cloaked in permanent stealth, I hoofed it back to the woods. I passed a guy named Old Mao leading a girl out to level up. I knew deadass that guy was walking to his funeral, but I kept my mouth shut. I mind my own business. 15 minutes later, I am deep in the dark forest. I roll up on the boss and sure enough, the Trent is silver tier, wrapped in gray mist. It was still evolving, but pushing to gold takes 8 hours. I am not waiting for that. I crept right up behind the thing and fired a venomous throwing dart straight into its ugly head. Just doing the math in my head, I figured it would only take 2 or 3 of those darts to completely melt a silver boss anyway. Let's go. So there I was. I chucked a poison dart straight at the cursed one and instantly melted back into the shadows. The boss lost a quarter of its health in a flash, and was still ticking down from the poison. It whipped around, totally furious, but there was nobody there. The thing raised these skinny, withered arms, gathering this nasty gray energy, and just blew up the entire area. A massive blast radius, over 20 meters across. The second I threw that dart, I had bolted at top speed. I barely cleared the blast zone before it popped. My heart was pounding out of my chest, man. If that hit me, with my squishy defense, I'd be looking at a respawn screen. This freak had wiped 30 players and skyrocketed straight to silver tier, farming enough lifespan to maybe even hit gold. Too bad it ran into me. I kept my distance, waiting for my shadow cloak to cool down while the boss just started spamming gray mist explosions at nothing. Even those smaller blasts would have folded me in half. Luckily, I stayed totally invisible, chilling out of range, completely safe from the chaos. You and I both know how these boss fights usually go. But by the time my shadow cloak came off cooldown, this curse weaver was seriously gassed. It had just spammed a dozen skills, and its mana was running on fumes. The ugly thing is looking around all paranoid, trying to dip into the woods. Bam. I pop up behind it. Poison dart straight to the dome. 659 damage for the weak point, then 219 poison damage a pop. I flickered out of sight again, keeping 10 meters away so I wouldn't get caught in its blast radius. 2 darts in, and this silver tier boss only had a third of its health left. It was sprinting away on these freaky long arms like a giant, terrified spider. A boss that used to wipe out entire raids, and here I am, hunting it down solo like it owes me rent money. I stepped out of the shadows one more time, right behind the boss. Poison dart! The thing lit up green again, the venom chewing through its last chunk of health. It finally hit 0, and its skinny body folded like a cheap lawn chair onto the wet dirt. The system notifications went crazy. 1,800 experience points hit me all at once, shooting me straight up to level 5. Plus, 4 evolution points and 124 days of tradable lifespan. But I wasn't done. I popped my greedy hand skill. A glowing golden hand reached out of thin air and grabbed the corpse. The gamble paid off. 2 extra reward drops hit my inventory instantly. 1 silver tier boss just netted me 12 evolution points and 372 days of tradable lifespan. Talk about a payday. Right after using greedy hand, a brilliant golden light flashed under the corpse. A gold tier drop. That's the upgrade chance from my emerald tier skill kicking in. I was hyped, but looking at the 7 or 8 items on the ground, I just sighed. My backpack only had 10 slots. Doing the math in my head, running back to town after every kill was a total waste of time. I crossed my fingers, hoping one of those items was a storage ring. Meanwhile, back in Shelltown, players were losing their minds over the leaderboard. People were freaking out that I jumped from level 3 to 5 in 10 minutes. Some guy in chat was literally offering his sister just to get carried by me. Crazy, right? Down in the town center, Wang Meng and his squad had only just dragged themselves to level 3. Wang Meng's crew checks the board, and their sharpshooter whines about how they are supposed to keep up with me. Wang Meng, an armed cop who got sucked into the game after a long stakeout, tells them to log off and warn their families, because the real world is about to go sideways. They all nod and log out. While they had their reality check, I was bathing in loot. I scored over 200 years of non-tradable lifespan, putting my total at 418 years. Sounds like plenty, but once the wasteland spread hits reality, that clock drains violently fast. I pushed the doom and gloom aside and checked my new gold tier curse ring. It gave 8 to all attributes, 26 dark element resistance, and boosted weak point damage by 0.1. It only needed level 4. An all attributes ring? I was grinning. 8 points to everything equals 32 stats total. That's like leveling up 3 times just by putting a ring on. Bumping my weak point multiplier to 1.6 was massive, since this game doesn't have regular critical hits. But the real prize was the silver tier skill book. You and I know skill books are the real gold mine, since I can evolve them. It was Blink Strike. Let me warp 15 meters, turn invisible for 5 seconds, and rip 3 slashes through anyone in my path. I learned it instantly. If I'd had this earlier, I would have flatlined that boss in half the time. My stats even knocked the 12-second cooldown down to 10. A 15-meter dash that shreds everything in its path? Clearing mobs was about to be a blast. I knew evolving skills would boost their range, but my eyes were glued to Hand of Greed. Upgrading it 4 times cost me 1, 2, 3, 5, and then 8 points. You do the math, man, each upgrade is the sum of the last 2. The next one is gonna run me 13. I drop 8 points, leaving me with 4, and boom, diamond tier. The extra loot chance on a monster corpse jumps to 220%, plus a 40% chance to upgrade the loot tier. One monster basically pays out like 3 now. It is completely busted. Getting 13 points for the next tier will be a breeze with boss drops. But right now, I need raw damage. I couldn't one-shot that last silver boss, and long fights just get you killed. I dumped 3 points into combat, leaving me with 1 point. I pushed Shadow Flash Slash to Platinum tier. Now I can blink 21 meters, turn invisible for 7 seconds, and rip through enemies with 5 slashes. Each hit adds 200 damage. The 10-second cooldown didn't drop, which annoyed me, but whatever, I can basically stay invisible forever anyway. Checking my loot, I found a silver warrior book called War Cry. A warrior would be an absolute god with that buff right now, but I just have to sell it. Real shame. Keeping my stealth up, I scoped out the woods. This was a level 4 zone. 3 nasty, rotting crawler monsters were sniffing around a fresh corpse in the shadows. Before those ugly freaks even realized what was happening, I let it rip. Shadow Flash Slash. Huge damage numbers in the 700s just lit up the dark trees, completely melting them on the spot. Picture this, man. Those level 4 grunts had 1,000 health. I flashed into view for a split second, then dashed 30 feet away. All 3 crawlers caught 2 slashes and dropped dead. The system chimed 80 experience points and 5 days of tradable lifespan per kill. I strolled back to their remains and fired off Hand of Greed. I was glad it didn't have a cooldown, though I was annoyed you can only loot a corpse once. If anyone heard me complaining about triple loot, they'd punch me. With that dash, my grinding speed went through the roof. I did the math, figuring it would only take 2 hours to hit level 10 so I could pull my powers into the real world. But while I was out there farming, back on Earth, the first batch of players were finally hitting level 3 and waking up. The real world chaos was just beginning. While I was grinding, the real world was losing its mind. People falling asleep got sucked into the game, their bodies turning into translucent ghosts. Everyone screamed apocalypse until the level 3 players woke up and spilled the truth. Internet forums absolutely exploded. Some guys were hyped to become superheroes, while others were terrified because dying in-game cost half your lifespan. Rumors flew about an old guy who died in the game and instantly dropped dead in reality. Pure panic. Meanwhile, at my old college, my ex Qin Xiaoyu was in her dorm. Her friend Chu Yan was stressing about bringing her parents into the game, but the others told her to save herself first. And Xiaoyu, she wasn't even sweating the literal end of the world. She was staring at her phone, actually waiting for me to send an apology text. Can you believe the ego? Get this, she was furious that I hadn't texted. In her mind, skipping a major exam to see some pop idol named Song Fei was completely justified. Her logic, you can retake a test, but you can't always see your celebrity crush. She was just daydreaming about this singer, replaying his generic concert lines like they were meant for her. She even convinced herself that Song Fei would log into the game and become some legendary hero. It's hilarious, man. The guy taking up all the space in her head wasn't me but some pop star. In my past life, I was a total simp. When this game started, I ran to her campus, apologized, and begged her to team up. But this time, I could not care less. She can do whatever she wants. By completely ghosting her, I was already throwing a wrench in the timeline. History was shifting just because I decided to walk away. In the old timeline, I texted her apologies to keep the peace. This time, radio silence. Apologize to her? Yeah, right. I figured she'd log into the game early out of spite, but that wasn't my problem. Back in her dorm, her friend Chu Yen saw that this guy from their class, Zhang Wei, had just hit level 3. Xiaoyu was impressed, thinking anyone at level 3 was a god, so she tagged him in the group chat for tips. Zhang Wei usually slept through every lecture, but suddenly he was getting worshipped. Seeing Xiaoyu message him inflated his ego. He figured this was his golden ticket to get with her. Slapping on the charm, he slid into her private chats, bragging his head off. He explained that once someone hits level 5, town teleporters activate. His grand plan was for her to log in, hide in a random party, and wait for him to teleport over and carry her like a hero. Zhang Wei dropped a supposed pro secret, telling her to dump all her stats into agility to speed up magic casting. Xiaoyu bought it instantly. While this guy was fantasizing about winning her heart, she was literally just using him. To her, anyone who wasn't that pop star Song Fei was a tool. She figured since I hadn't apologized, she'd jump in and outlevel me with Zhang Wei's help. You know how it is, man. If she thought level 3 Zhang Wei was a big shot, what did that make me? I was already sitting at level 5. But here is the kicker about those teleporters, they're a two-way street. You need a level 5 player in both towns to link up. I wasn't in any rush to activate mine. My eyes were dead set on level 10 in the main city, where the game actually started. Still, the thought of free fast travel between starting towns got my gears turning. Tearing through the forest, a thought hit me. Which town did that singer Song Fei spawn in? In my past life, Xiaoyu was obsessed with finding him, and thanks to her fan groups, I remembered the exact spot. Firefly Town. A dark grin spread across my face. I decided right then I'd take a trip over and butcher him every time he showed his face. Killing him in-game was just the warm-up to make him terrified of closing his eyes. The real hunt would come later. I checked our local leaderboard. I was sitting at level 6, while the runner-up was stuck at 3. It would be a while before anyone unlocked intertown travel. So, I kept grinding. Shadow flash slash. 750 damage lit up the dark trees, turning those monsters into sweet experience points and lifespan drops. Meanwhile, back in the real world, local authorities were already making their move. Meanwhile, the Real World Bureau bigwigs were losing their minds over Wang Meng's report. Level 5 already? Solo, they realized my alias, Shadow, made me #1 in the world. Those suits were scrambling to maintain order, and I was a massive wild card. One official frowned, wondering why I hadn't logged out to warn my family. Wang Meng shrugged, guessing I didn't have any. Then, this rookie cop named and Yu chimes in. Looking totally innocent, she asks if I could be a transmigrator, since they are always orphans who level up fast. The whole room stared at her. She went bright red. An older official sighed, telling her to lay off the fantasy novels during a global crisis. She shut up real quick, but honestly, she was the only one in that room who actually hit the nail on the head. So the government suits are in a full panic, right? They're holding secret meetings about this Shadow guy, which, spoiler alert, is me. They want my real identity so they can shake hands on a deal. Meanwhile, they finally realize the lifespan mechanic is no joke. Old folks are dropping dead in reality because they died too many times in the game. If your clock hits under 24 hours and you die in-game, you're toast for real. The feds are losing their minds trying to keep the peace. But you and I know the real kicker is coming. Once you hit level 10, you can spend lifespan to pull your game stats and gear right into the real world. Total chaos is right around the corner, man, and I'm sitting right in the middle of it. Over an hour later, Qin Xiaoyu finally drags herself into the game. Just like my last go-around, she rolls a hidden class called Life Priest. Heavy healing, keeps the squad breathing. See, in my past life, I rolled a basic warrior just to keep her alive, and she treated me like absolute garbage for it. She had no clue I was taking the hits for her. This time, I cut her loose and scored the unique Shadow class. She's over there thinking she hit the jackpot, probably telling herself I'm gonna come crawling back, begging for heals. She's getting all arrogant, thinking this Zhang Wei clown is gonna carry her to the top. Honestly, it's almost funny how clueless she is. She thinks she's on top of the world right now, but she's about to find out how brutal this game actually is. She's about to get absolutely wrecked, but whatever, that's her problem now. Meanwhile, I'm back in Shell Town, stuffing my pockets. I grabbed a storage bag, giving me 5 extra slots, so I'm rocking 15 total. I'm doing the math in my head. This loot is easily worth 500 days of lifespan. Add that to the 600 I got from the cursed one boss, and I'm sitting pretty. As I'm sneaking back, completely invisible, I overhear this corporate suit Yali talking to her carry old Mao. He got her to level 3, and she's buying his lifespan for 10 grand a day in real cash. The guy actually thinks he's a genius. He's probably looking at my level 7 on the leaderboards, thinking I'm a total idiot for not cashing out early. Sure, buddy, take the fiat currency. Picture this. You got this guy Mao Lijun losing his mind because he is about to rake in over 6 million bucks. Me? I could not care less. I sneaked back into Shell Town, completely out of sight, and headed to the Central Plaza basement. I touched this giant stone teleportation gate, and boom, system alert. I activated the array. We are now linked to the other starting towns. 1 free jump a day, plus I bagged a free reputation point. I strolled back up to the plaza, rocking my black robe and veil as my alter ego, Shadow. Man, the stares I got. Everyone else is crying over hitting level 3, and I am sitting at level 7. In a game where your literal lifespan is on the line, people were looking at me like they wanted to steal my soul. I set up my stall by the broken flower bed, and the crowd instantly ditched the other vendors to swarm me. I heard one guy yell how he saved up 150 days of lifespan just for my leftovers. Another brought up the ice spike spell I sold that carried Grey Rose straight to 2nd place on the leaderboards. Right now, most players can barely survive basic mobs, making my gear their only real shot. Take this silver tier warrior skill called War Cry. I sold it for 300 days of lifespan. Almost a full year of a guy's life for 1 book. People were arguing if it was worth the cost. But do the math out loud with me here. You drop 300 days to double your farming speed. You make that time back fast. With real power, immortality is basically on the table. I also tossed up some low-tier junk, mostly common and bronze. Boots with a speed boost or cheap crowd control went for 50 to 80 days of lifespan, while the total garbage went for 20. I also hung a sign saying I was buying storage backpacks. Soon enough, this cute girl in a black mage robe walks up. She is the prophetess from Wang Meng's crew, goes by Blackberry Plum. She gives me a lively smile and opens her hand to reveal a space ring. 12 slots of storage, and it does not take up a regular slot. You can only carry 3 bags normally, so this is huge. The drop rate is completely awful on these. Back in my past life, a single space ring would easily sell for at least 10 years of tradable lifespan. We are talking over 3,650 days. I played it cool and asked her price. She gets mysterious, saying she does not want my lifespan, just to add me as a friend and get my help taking down a boss. I sent the request and we started messaging. Turns out her captain was offline, she got bored, and stumbled into a gold tier boss. She knew her squad would get totally wiped if they tried it. She figured trading the ring for my heavy lifting was a smart play. I asked for the boss name. She did not know, but said it had a gold health bar and looked like a wrecked ship in the swamp. A ship in a swamp? I knew exactly what that was. I told her I would kill it. If it drops mage gear, she gets it, but I take the rest. She looked shocked and asked what about her captain's cut, totally expecting me to just play nice and work for free. I told her straight up. Her team had every class covered, so if nothing dropped for an assassin, I would be working for charity. Not happening. She realized I was right and agreed, but asked if I could give her captain a discount on warrior gear. I said sure. She told me we would head out once her team logged on, but I waved her off and told her to take me there right now so I could solo it. You should have seen her face. She looked at me like I had 3 heads. To her, a gold tier boss was a total death sentence. But I knew exactly what I was dealing with. Based on her story, it was the Golden Ghost ship, a crazy rare special boss. At this level, it has a nasty bag of tricks that easily wipes out regular players. But the best part, it drops a ridiculously useful special item, and there was no way I was letting anyone else grab it. They just don't get it. That special item I'm hunting? Later on you couldn't buy it with 1,000 years of lifespan. Getting a Golden Ghost ship spawn near the starting town is crazy luck, and at level 5, it's basically a free payday. A few minutes later, I finish fencing my loot, pulling in 650 days. I'm sitting on 2,174 days total. But honestly, it's pocket change. If I want to extract my stats to the real world at level 10, I need like 6 or 7 years of time. So this ghost ship boss is my golden ticket. I head out of town with this girl, Blackberry Plum, real name Lin Liu. She's just staring at me with these huge eyes, completely mind-blown. She's trying to figure out how a squishy assassin solos a gold-tier boss. We're walking, and my instincts start screaming. I step back next to her and whisper that we've got a tail. She panics, asking what we're gonna do. I just tell her to keep walking and play it cool. I fade out of sight and let her keep walking her mage robes across the dirt. A few seconds later, I'm deep in the tree line. 5 guys creeping along like absolute amateurs. I don't even hesitate. Shadow flash slash. I'm practically teleporting through the trees. My blade lights up, dropping 800 damage hits like it's nothing. 4 of them hit the dirt before they even know what happened. The last guy turns white as a sheet and makes a run for it. I just casually toss a venom dart right into the back of his skull. 948 weak point damage. Lights out. Instant kill. The sad part, these bums were completely broke. I scoop up the 10 days of lifespan they dropped and think to myself, I've killed rats that paid better. I stroll back out of the woods, tell Lin Liu we need to pick up the pace, and just scoop her right up over my shoulder like a sack of potatoes. She lets out this little yelp, completely confused, like I'm some cartoon villain kidnapping a bride. But then I hit the gas. I'm rocking 72 agility right now. At a full sprint, I'm clearing 100 meters in 4 seconds flat. I'm just thinking about hitting level 10 and pulling this speed into the real world. Also, not gonna lie, she's got a great figure. This game pulls your real-world body straight into the Matrix, totally flawless. It's wild alien tech, man. So picture this. I got Lin Liu slung over my shoulder like a sack of potatoes, tearing through these pitch-black woods. I cannot go invisible while carrying someone, but I am moving so fast nobody is catching up. I was sweating it a little, figuring if some stealth guy is tailing me, I am totally blind to it. Any monster that stepped out, I just flicked a venom dart and dropped it cold. 10 minutes of sprinting later, we hit this cliff. Down below is thick gray fog, and right in the mud is this beat-up ship glowing gold. I could see that huge gold health bar from 100 meters away. The golden ghost ship. My heart is hammering. I set Liu down, tell her to watch her back, and scramble down the rocks. The second my boots hit the mud, the system chimes in. Frenzy zone. Lifespan drain is 100 times the normal rate. Let's do the math here. 15 minutes in this frenzy zone burns a whole day of your lifespan. A temporary zone like this is no big deal right now, but in a month? The real world turns into one giant frenzy zone, and worse stuff comes after. Absolute nightmare fuel. But I didn't have time to stress over that. I swiped the alert away and slipped into stealth. Even in this thick mud, I wasn't leaving a single footprint. I crept toward the center until the fog broke, and there it was. A 15-foot wrecked ship. Up top is this crumbling skeleton gripping an oar, and a bell covered in golden flames hanging off the front. I checked the boss timer. 45 minutes left. I let out a huge breath of relief. These bosses just vanish if you don't beat the clock, but 45 minutes was plenty of time for me to completely wreck this thing. Time to go to work. I checked my Shadow Veil cooldown and it was good to go. I launched right at the ghost ship and ripped off a phantom flash slash. 5 huge damage numbers popped up as I flickered through the shadows. I reappeared just long enough to whip a venom dart straight at that golden bell. See, the weak point wasn't the creepy skeletons, it was the bell. Soon as the hits landed, I triggered stealth and bolted backward. The timing had to be perfect. The skeletons started making this awful creaking sound, their eyes lit up with fire, and the swamp just exploded. Dozens of high-pressure water jets blasted out of the mud all around the ship. With my squishy build, one hit from those would have ended my whole career. I was dodging for my life as water erupted inches from my face. The closer you stand to that boat, the tighter the blasts get. Unless you're a warrior decked out in silver gear, those jets are an instant trip to the grave. I kept my cool, reading the patterns and dodging like a maniac. But here's the kicker. After the blasts, 12 rotting ghosts dragged themselves out of the mud, hitting just like silver bosses. The worst part? You get 0 loot for killing them, and the ship summons a new batch every 3 minutes. My best combo only took off 10% of the ship's health. It had around 50,000 HP. Most players hitting for 30 damage would never survive this. I opened a chat with Liu while literally dodging death rays. I told her, "Little Black, I might die in a minute, but just wait for me." She replies, totally confused, asking who the heck Little Black is. I mean, her username is literally Black Plum Big Plum. What did she expect me to call her? You and I both know you can't have a quiet moment without some jerk ruining it. Come to find out later, this tryhard named Iron Man was tearing up the road looking for me. He had a huge ego, always bragging about his old school gaming days. I had already smoked his tracker, which really ticked him off. Since he couldn't track my stealth, he thought he was a genius for tracking Liu instead. probably assuming I was just showing off for a girl. Even though I dropped his scouts, this guy was so obsessed with my loot that he marched 20 guys straight into the woods. He didn't even care that half his crew got eaten by random mobs along the way. Eventually, one of his surviving goons spotted Liu up on the cliff. They peeked over the edge and saw me down in the swamp, completely soloing the gold boss. Look, you and I both know how this goes. While Iron Man and his 20 goons haul ass toward the swamp, I'm sweating bullets against this golden ghost ship. I'm dodging water blasts, barely sneaking in a phantom flash slash or venom dart. Takes me 10 minutes to cut its health in half. Do the math, that's one opening every 2 minutes. Then, 50% hits. Boom. A soul wave rips me out of stealth and freezes me solid. A water jet explodes under my boots, smacking me for over 1,000 damage. Instant death. I dropped 326 years of non-tradable lifespan, plus 1,000 tradable days. Half my life savings, gone in a flash. I planned for it though. You gotta tank that mechanic to get the boss loot. But naturally, right as my dead body hits the mud, Iron Man's crew shows up. So these bozos see me eat dirt and start celebrating like they won the lotto. They call me an idiot for soloing a gold tier boss, thinking they can waltz in, steal my dropped lifespan, and finish the job. Iron Man leads the charge, feeling real tough. 2 seconds later, absolute chaos. Over 30 silver tier water ghosts swarm them, and the boss starts blasting water jets everywhere. Wipes all 24 of them out instantly. They didn't even get close to my corpse. Now the mud is covered in their dropped lifespan too. I mean, a boss that literally forced me to tank a death, did they think it was free? They respawn back at Shell Town, totally rattled. They're crying about the water pillars, doing the math on my stats. They figure if I had the agility to dodge, I couldn't possibly have the damage to chunk half its health. Clueless. Back in town, they realize their whole 20-man squad only did 3% damage. Iron Man is fuming. His big brain strategy was that dying didn't matter as long as you scored the loot. So much for that. Still, the guy is stubborn. He rallies his miserable crew and marches back out, drawing a crowd of curious players trailing behind them. But man, my movement speed is in another league. By the time they even leave town, I'm already back in the mud, throwing phantom shadow slashes and venom darts. Now that the boss is under half health, it gets nasty. Its skeletal oars sweep the swamp, sending these massive, lethal water waves everywhere. With my squishy stats, if one wave touches my ankle, I'm a goner. But honestly, it's a joke. The deadly wave rolls up, and I literally just jump over it. Piece of cake. The trick with those waves is the weird timing. Fast, slow, completely random. You need insane reflexes or you're dead instantly. But since I'm sitting in stealth, the boss's single target moves don't even try. I'm just playing jump rope. By the time I get the ship to a quarter health, Iron Man finally waddles back. They see the lifespan orbs in the mud and want to rush me. But right as they step up, bam. Lightning blasts from the woods, smacking Iron Man and his buddies for 30-something damage. It's Lin Liu playing bodyguard. She drops the ambush and immediately books it, using her crazy agility to kite them. I catch the light show out of the corner of my eye while circling the boss, but honestly, I don't even care. If they stepped into the swamp, the monsters would just eat them again anyway. Phantom Shadow Slash. Venom Dart. I string together one last combo, dropping the boss to a tiny sliver of health. Right as the crowd of randoms following Iron Man reaches the swamp, they get a front row seat to the finale. I launch my last Phantom Shadow Slash, ripping straight through the hull. 5 streaks of light carve into the wood, popping damage numbers over 500 apiece. The ship shatters. I hit level 8 instantly, grabbing evolution points and over 200 days of lifespan. Then the real chaos starts. A server-wide announcement blasts into the minds of every single player online. Yours truly just claimed the world's first gold-tier boss kill. Naturally, global chat loses its collective mind. Guys still dying to basic mobs are freaking out, wondering who I am and desperately trying to figure out where Shell Town is located on the map. You wouldn't believe the global reaction. You've got players swearing I must be from their country, claiming me as a national treasure. Even people logged out in the real world heard the ping. Take Wang Meng. He just told his superiors I could maybe handle a bronze boss, and boom, I bag a gold. He's questioning his entire existence because his elite squad can barely scratch a bronze. But honestly, while the whole world has a meltdown, I'm totally unfazed. I triggered plenty of these in my past life. For ranks like gold or diamond, the server only announces the very first kill globally, so I just took that off the table. Epic bosses are different since they have actual names, so every kill gets a broadcast. But the best part of all this, since I didn't actually party up with Lin Liu, my name was the only one flashing in lights across the whole server. I unleashed one last phantom flash slash, and the ghost ship shattered, dumping loot all over the mud. Before I could grab my gear, a pack of players charged into the swamp. I heard this skinny dude yelling to use a detection skill so they could kill me and steal my drops. They were drooling over the glowing pile. A hunter summoned a spectral horned eagle that pulsed pale blue anti-stealth rings from the sky. Their genius plan was to reveal me and get rich. Just one problem. Early game detection is all level 1, but my shadow class gave me a built-in +1 to stealth. I was basically a ghost. The radar washed right over me, showing absolutely nothing. I wasn't even stressing about the loot since system protection locked it to me anyway. I watched them scrambling around like idiots, thinking they could actually rob me. I just had to laugh. Good luck with that. So there I was, drifting around the swamp like a ghost, just watching these 12 guys huddled by the golden ghost ship wreckage. They actually thought I had cut and run since their ghostly horned eagles couldn't spot me. One stringy guy even sneered, telling them to guard the boss timer. Yeah, right. I dashed straight through their huddle. Boom, flash shadow slash. A massive blur of damage numbers popped, and they all instantly dropped dead, leaving 12 lifespan orbs behind. Serves them right for bunching up. I looked around and realized that girl Lin Liu had totally vanished, but whatever. I had some quick math to do before looting. I started with 6 evolution points, plus 7 from the boss, bringing me up to a solid 13. Let's upgrade that greedy hand skill. When I saw the stats on my new epic tier greedy hand, I practically choked. It had a 300% chance for extra loot, and get this, that extra loot had a guaranteed 100% chance to upgrade by a whole tier. I've played this game for 9 years and never seen a skill so unhinged. I rushed the boss corpse, and notifications spammed my vision. I grabbed 7 evolution points 3 times over, plus 3 stacks of 216 days of tradable lifespan. Boom, 21 evolution points and 648 days of life. I also scooped up the lifespan those dead players dropped, bringing my grand total to 3,115 days. I had 21 points burning a hole in my pocket, so I pulled up my menu to keep right on evolving. Stick with me here, because the game quickly slapped me back to reality. I tried to evolve greedy hand again, and the system basically laughed, asking for 210 points. Epic to legendary costs 10 times the points, so I obviously hit decline. Still, 28 points from a gold boss was wild, so I figured I'd pump those into other skills instead. I dug through the boss loot, and there it was, the holy grail I'd been praying for. The Ghostfire Bell. This special item completely prevents you from losing lifespan when you die. It also has a passive boosting lifespan drops by 20%, and an active skill that stuns everything within 100 meters. Later on, players would trade 1,000 years of life for this thing. Lifespan is everything, and I just bagged the ultimate cheat code. Let me break it down. More lifespan equals more power. The best part about the Ghostfire Bell is it doesn't eat up an equipment slot, it just chills in your backpack. It gave me a free pass every half hour if I died, which I desperately needed since my build was basically wet paper. But here's the crazy part. The drop rate for this bell is usually 30%. Thanks to my broken greedy hand, I actually dropped 2 of them. I checked my stat sheet, and my brain almost short-circuited. My lifespan kill bonus was sitting at exactly 40%. The passives actually stacked. Sure, the active stun and the death protection share a cooldown, that's just a basic rule of the game, but having a 40% boost on every single kill was going to make me disgustingly rich. With 9 years of experience, I knew the game's mechanics, but that stacked lifespan drain was wild. My progression was about to hit warp speed. I dug into the loot pile. Normally, a gold boss throws you a few silvers and maybe 1 gold if you're lucky. But thanks to greedy hand bumping everything up a tier, I was staring at 11 gold items, 2 platinum gears, and a platinum skill book. 3 were for my assassin class. First up were the platinum ghost ship twin blades, packing huge attack, 22 agility attack speed, and 17 armor penetration. The unique effect made basic attacks hit twice. I just spam skills, so that was pretty useless to me. But the raw stats, the attack speed to shorten my casting time, absolutely huge. I desperately needed that armor penetration, especially after my attacks just bounced off that ghost ship's thick hull. I equipped the twin blades and grabbed the next piece. The gold tier Ghostfire leather armor packed 25 defense, fire resistance, 14 damage block, and a massive 419 health. That block stat meant most early players wouldn't even scratch me. I'd totally ignored constitution, leaving my max health at a pathetic 350, so this single jacket literally doubled my life bar. Finally, I opened the gold skill book. Ghost Shadow Blur. It gave 15% evasion, and successfully dodging granted total damage immunity. My eyes lit up. Evasion builds were usually a joke since you'd eventually catch a stray hit and die. But me? With infinite evolution, I could easily crank that evasion to 80% and just laugh at my enemies. Staring at my 21 points, I had a tough choice to make. So I'm doing the math, and the choice is a no-brainer. Boost my damage first, right? Bigger damage means bigger bosses, which means way better loot. I bench that new Ghost Shadow Blur trick and dump 8 evolution points into Shadow Flash Slash. Boom, it goes from Platinum to Emerald, then straight to Diamond. My flash distance jumps to 27 meters, I get 9 seconds of stealth, and I'm slashing 7 times. That's 3 grand damage on a normal hit. Add a backstab, and I'm hitting for almost 7,000. With 13 points left, I drop 10 into backstab enhancement, taking it to gold for a sweet 30% bump. If I fought that gold ghost ship right now, I'd melt it in 5 minutes flat. Then I check my bag. Got a platinum bow and a priest book, but I ain't selling those yet. Look, I figured I'd just hold on to the loot. Am I worried about people finding out about my greedy hand? Nah. If you're strong, who cares? Here is the math. Nobody right now can afford platinum tier gear. A piece like that goes for 5 or 6 years of lifespan, and skill books are 10 years, easy. I had 8 gold drops, so I figured I'd sell those to Wang Meng's crew at a 10% discount. I owed Lin Liu a mage book and ring for hooking me up with that space ring earlier. I did the math, thousands of days of lifespan just sitting in my bag. I shot her a message, calling her Little Black. She hates the name, but you can't change it. She told me Iron Man's crew ganked her, but luckily Wang Meng was holding all their lifespan safely. I just told her to sit tight and wait. I popped into stealth and started hoofing it back to Shell Town. Halfway there, I see Iron Man and his 20 goons. Honestly, I just looked at them like walking loot bags. Later I found out that over in Moonlight Town, this healer named Qin Xiaoyu was stuck grinding with an absolutely useless squad. They were losing their minds over my global first kill, realizing I was from their home region. She actually made up her mind to ditch her scrubs and come find me the second someone hit level 5 to unlock the teleporters for that one reputation point. It's hilarious because they were all struggling to kill basic wild dogs. And the kicker, nobody anywhere was even close to level 5 yet, just a bunch of sweaty level 4s grinding away, while I was already chilling at level 8. Now, stick with me here, because this is where the system gets specific. You can only teleport between towns in the Jianghai region once someone hits level 5. Anyway, back to the woods. I roll up on Iron Man and his 23 underlings. I'll give them this: they stayed spread out, probably terrified of my area of effect skills. But buddy, I was holding the platinum grade ghost ship twin blades. A normal swing would 2-tap any of these clowns. I lined up the perfect angle and let it rip Shadow Flash Slash. Bam bam! Over 1,000 damage a pop! I basically turned into a shadow and shredded right through their formation. More than a dozen guys dropped dead in a single second. After that, I didn't even bother staying invisible. I just charged the rest in broad daylight. Here's the beautiful thing about this game: no aim assist. So with my agility through the roof, I was just sidestepping all their stun skills like I was taking a walk in Central Park. The few hits that actually landed, single digits. They couldn't even scratch my gold-grade Ghostfire leather armor. It was an absolute slaughter. Guys were literally crying, begging me to stop, screaming about how they only had a year of lifespan left. Honestly, I had zero mercy to give. I told them straight up, I was just there for the boss, but they were the idiots who decided to come back looking for trouble. I zipped through those dark woods and dropped 22 of them, including Iron Man himself. 2 guys scattered, and I just couldn't be bothered to chase them. What a bunch of broke losers. Right after that massacre, the system slapped me with a notification. I'd killed too many players, so I got hit with a stack of the Slaughterer debuff. Basically, if I died at level 1, I'd lose 75% of my lifespan. But here is the joke: I had the Ghostfire bell in my pocket. If I got killed, I wouldn't lose a single second of my life. So I absolutely did not care. I strolled right back into Shell Town wearing that black and crimson Ghostfire leather armor, looking like an absolute menace. Everyone in the plaza stopped dead to stare. You could hear them whispering, totally jealous, accusing me of exploiting a bug. Just as I got to the center of town, this tall, pale, skinny kid practically crawled up to me. The same guy who tried to steal my loot earlier with his eagle. He was sweating bullets, holding out an assassin's skill book they bought, begging me to let it go. Picture this, man. The whole situation caught me completely off guard. The guy just hands me an assassin's skill book called Gouge. Added 20 damage and a 2-second stun on a 22-second cooldown. Free crowd control? I am not turning that down. I grabbed it, learned it on the spot, and told them to get lost. I didn't know it yet, but that skinny rich kid Dongfang was watching me leave, scheming like a total creep. He figured since he didn't recognize my voice, I was some broke nobody he could trap in the real world with a hired honey trap. Real comic book villain stuff. Anyway, I finally met up with Lin Liu. She was standing there in this black mage robe, looking around like a nervous wreck until I walked up and handed her the goods. I casually tossed her a gold-grade mage skill book and some gold gear. You should have seen her face, man. She was probably expecting me to stiff her and say the boss dropped nothing for her class. Instead, she catches a fire skill with 150 bonus attack, plus a necklace adding 15 spirit and 3 mana per second. Her brain totally short-circuited. Doing the math in my head, her mana regeneration jumped from 2 to 5 points a second. Her sustain was insane now. She starts tearing up, calling me a big shot, thanking me like I saved her life. I just laughed it off. I told her we had a deal and asked for the space ring. After all, she did get chased by Iron Man's goons just to help me out earlier, so she definitely earned her cut. Honestly, I didn't actually need her help back there, but she's a solid kid. She hands over the 12-slot space ring, then casually mentions that while running for her life, she found a hole in the ground that looked like ancient ruins. I was stunned. People always joked this girl was a literal good luck charm, and they were dead right. First the ghost ship, now this. Giving her that gold gear definitely paid off, cause she never would have told me otherwise. I slid the space ring onto my left pinky and let out a huge sigh of relief. Finally, 27 inventory slots. Storage space in this game is an absolute nightmare, so this changed everything. I told her I'd handle our other trades once her captain logged in, but for now I had some ruins to explore. She was practically vibrating with excitement. She pulls out this map and marks a spot for me, explaining the entrance was just a stone slab on the ground. She actually tried to hide inside it earlier, but got spooked by ghostly wailing and bolted. I memorized the spot instantly. The funny thing about these starting towns is the terrain is copy-pasted everywhere, but ruins and boss spawns are totally random. Finding both in Shell Town was wild luck. I dropped into stealth and slipped right out of town. I originally planned to grind random mobs until level 10, but clearing a ruin would do the math for me way faster. Starting towns only spawn 3 types of ruins. Tombs full of annoying undead, cursed ruins packed with tragic, mutated ghouls, or temples of faith. Those temples are basically massive, twisted labyrinths filled with insane cultists worshipping ancient gods. If you clear a cursed ruin or a temple, you get insanely good gear. Hell, my Eye of Judgment originally came from a temple like this. I definitely wasn't skipping it. The minor monsters down there are at least bronze grade. Doing the math with my greedy hand, a bronze mini-boss meant 8 evolution points, and a silver meant 16. Farming them was a total gold mine. I stayed in stealth, found the overgrown weeds Lin marked, and shoved the stone slab aside. Instantly, this mournful ghostly wailing echoed up the dark stairs. Creepy as hell, but whatever. I headed down and slid the slab shut behind me. It was pitch black except for a dim yellow glow up ahead. When I got close enough to see the carvings on the stone walls, my jaw practically dropped. The murals were identical to the ones I remembered from my past life. This was a temple of faith, dedicated to the ancient god of judgment. Finding this temple here felt like fate, man. I took a deep breath, checked my stealth, and crept deeper into the passage. While I was down there poking around, players in the starting towns were losing their minds trying to level up. Since low levels needed less experience, guys quickly hit level 5 and unlocked the teleportation arrays. Everyone gets 1 free jump a day. And guess where they all went? Yep, Shell Town. They all wanted to track me down after my world-first gold boss kill. The town was getting completely flooded. When Wang Meng logged back in, he was shell-shocked by the crowds. He used to be ranked in the top 10 of our town, but with this massive migration, he got shoved down past 20th place in an instant. The guy was sweating bullets, realizing he really needed to hustle. Picture this man. While I'm out there breaking the game, Wang Meng is frantically messaging his squad. He gets his guys together, but they're down a healer because their old priest bailed to play with her kid in another town. You can't make this up. But here's the kicker: Wang Meng and this archer kid absolutely freeze when they see Lin Liu. Why? She's rocking that faint glow on her chest. My necklace! She's totally bragging about me, saying maybe Shadow will hook them up with cheap gear. Wang Meng is sweating, knowing gold tier is way out of their budget. The archer gets jealous, talking about riding my coattails, but Lin shuts him down hard. Wang Meng ran background checks on all of them to build a legit, permanent crew. But for now, still no healer. So Wang Meng sets up a literal stall, but instead of selling junk, he throws up a sign, looking for a priest. Now, because Lin Liu is standing right there with my gold necklace shining like a beacon, they draw a massive crowd. All these young healers flock over, thinking they hit the jackpot. But the second Wang Meng asks for real-life IDs for a background check, they scatter like roaches. And then who walks up? My own adopted sister, Qin Xiaoyu. She's already a level 3 life priestess, a legit hidden class. She gives them her real info, totally deadpan, even making a point to mention her adopted brother. Yeah, that's me. Wang Meng loves the stats and adds her on the spot. Some jerk took her usual handle, so she went with Xiaoyu. Yeah. I heard she just smiled to herself. You and I both know she's smart. She took one look at that gold necklace and knew it had to be from me, the guy who just bagged the global first kill in Shell Town. I rose so fast in this life, I practically doxed myself to my own sister. Anyway, back to my actual situation. I was deep inside this creepy faith temple, walking down a massive, empty hall. Dead quiet, except for this awful ghostly wailing. I find the source, 2 hunched over, ghoul-looking freaks kneeling on the floor. Level 10 silver bosses. I don't hesitate. I pop stealth, sneak right up behind them, and unleash Shadow Slash. Boom! I break stealth with a massive backstab. I couldn't hit a weak point because the skill randomizes the strike zone, but the base damage multiplier is absolute insanity. I'm looking at the numbers 7 damage pop-ups over each of their ugly heads and doing the math. Their health bars only dropped by maybe a quarter. These guys had more than double the health of that cursed one I fought, even tankier than the golden ghost ship. I immediately brace myself to dodge whatever counterattack is coming. But get this, they don't even swing at me. These 2 terrifying monsters spin around, drop to the floor, and press their rotting faces against the stone right at my feet. It hit me like a truck. My authority of judgment. They weren't going to attack me. I spent 9 brutal years in my past life fighting for scraps, and never saw game logic break like this. This shrine was definitely tied to my class. I actually tried talking to them. You guys know the way. Lead me. Now, these corrupted freaks just looked at me like I was speaking Greek. They're just corrupted beasts that farm human lifespan, right? But suddenly, their rotting faces twist up with pure rage, and they snap their attention toward the hallway behind me. I hear heavy boots and shouting before I see them. A bunch of other players just stumbled into the dungeon. My 2 new best friends conjure massive orbs of green fire and start lobbing them down the corridor. It was absolute chaos. Guys screaming about 2 silver bosses, desperately trying to turn around. I slip back into stealth, chilling by the entrance, just watching the show. The whole passage turns into an inferno. 6 players get roasted to ash right in front of me. And right there, in the middle of the flames, I spot a familiar face. Grey Rose. Small world, right? So picture this. I'm watching from the shadows, and it's that older lady who bought my ice spike technique. Wild she found this shrine too, but her squad was absolute trash. 2 silver tier gatekeepers completely roasted them. You can't dodge green fire in a tight hallway. Basic math, you spot a boss, you rush the big room for dodging space. I just hung back, let them burn, and scooped up their lifespan orbs. 100 free days. Good looking out. The weirdest part is the monsters ignored the loot, going right back to bowing at the empty spot where I used to be. I scoured the room, hoping for a secret door but got nothing. Just too many bosses. I was honestly insulted. I walked up and hacked them down like training dummies. They didn't even swing back, bagged 4 grand in XP, dinged level 9 and moved on. Easiest money of my life. So check this out, man. I just dropped these 2 cultist freaks and hit level 9. The system chimes in 4 evolution points and 188 days of tradable lifespan. I hit their bodies with my greedy hand skill, which is epic tier now, and it feels so freaking good. I do the math out loud. 32 evolution points total, plus 1504 days of lifespan. Mad crazy, right? I also scored 4 gold items. One was this believer's pendant, a gold necklace. Gives 15 agility and 20% faster cooldowns. Do the math with me, bro. My Shadow Veil drops from 22.6 to 19.2 seconds. Venom Dart down to 3.7, Shadow Flash Slash to 8.8. I'm thinking, yeah, farming is gonna be a breeze now. The rest of the loot was junk nobody would buy yet, so I just stash it. I'm about to bounce, right? When suddenly, the floor in the middle of the hall starts shifting. So dropping those 2 freaks actually triggered some hidden mechanism. I'm staring at this circular stone platform rising out of the floor, thinking, is this a dead-ass elevator? I'd seen a million of these in my previous life, so I just step right on. The second I do, the thing rumbles like a subway train and starts sinking into a pit. Above my head, 2 stone slabs slide shut. Bam. Sealed in. If anybody walked into that hall right then, all they would see is 2 dead bodies. Meanwhile, I'm dropping fast. Finally, with a massive crash that kicked up sand everywhere, the platform hits bottom. I'm running the numbers, I gotta be at least 300 or 400 meters underground, man. But strangely, it's actually brighter down here. Creepy yellow torches lining the stone walls, lighting up endless corridors. I let out this heavy sigh. It's a freaking maze. I ran plenty of these before, so I know the drill, but doing it right is gonna eat up so much time. But here's the real kicker, bro. Mazes like this are packed with traps, and with my current stats, one wrong step, and I'm instantly flatlined. Thank God I just looted that believer's pendant. I tap the necklace, activate the effect, and boom, I summon a silver-tier devout believer. This gray-skinned freak just materializes on the ground in front of me. I tell the guy to scout ahead, and he literally starts crawling on his belly down the tunnel. With my own personal meat shield leading the way, I finally have a second to breathe. I open my skill panel, doing the math on my evolution points. 32 new ones plus 3 leftovers means 35 total. Greedy Hand needs 210 points now, so that's a hard pass. Since this temple is sketchy as hell, I pump 11 points into my passive dodge skill, Ghostly Blur, bringing it to epic grade. My dodge rate jumps from 15 to 75%. Next upgrade needs 80 points though, so I'm leaving it there. I still had points burning a hole in my pocket, so I dropped 13 into Shadow Flash/, bumping it to epic grade. My blink distance hits 30 meters, stealth lasts 12 seconds, and I get 9 slashes instead of 7. Plus, the bonus attack power per slash jumps by 200 points. Total damage deadass doubled, man. In my previous life, it took me years to bag an epic skill, and now I'm rocking them on day 1. I start doing the math out loud in the empty tunnel. Since taking a skill from epic to legend costs 10 times the points, starting with high-grade skills is way smarter. If a skill drops at epic, its first evolution to legend only costs 10 points. I could ride that straight up to mythic, but starting with a common skill? By the time it hits epic, the jump to legend would cost over 200 points. Total ripoff, bro. But hey, at least I can bring cheap skills up to epic basically for free. So basically, every skill I own is gonna be at least epic grade from now on. I had 11 points left, so I dumped 8 into my starter stealth move Shadow Cloak. It hit platinum, dropping the base cooldown to 22 seconds. With my 35% speed buff, the actual timer is 16.3 seconds. Honestly, that's still way too slow, and the attack boost is pretty weak. I'm definitely swapping it out once I find something better. Anyway, I turn back to my little scout. My pet cultist is hauling ass down the corridor, right? He rounds a corner and bam. This massive iron ball just shoots out of the wall and absolutely obliterates the guy. First hit takes off over 6,000 health, and the impact against the opposite wall hits for almost 100 grand. Just flattened the dude like a pancake. Nasty way to go. I just stopped dead in my tracks, waiting 10 minutes for the summon cooldown to reset. This maze doesn't mess around, man. Sending a meat shield first is the only way I'm getting out alive. Sure, waiting was burning daylight, but this faith temple was directly linked to my judgment eye. I had to see it through, or I'd be kicking myself over missed secrets. What I didn't know then was that back up at the temple entrance, that chick Grey Rose and her squad had finally crept back inside. They were bracing for a brutal fight, only to find my leftovers, the 2 silver bosses, dead on the floor. Her crew was absolutely losing their minds, whispering about how this mythical shadow guy must have blown through. They were mostly just relieved they didn't have to get wiped out again. But Grey Rose was suspicious as hell. Right before she got roasted the first time, she swore she saw a dark figure talking to those bosses. She was standing there over the corpses, second-guessing herself, wondering if she had actually seen me. Honestly, if I knew they were up there admiring my handiwork, I would have laughed my ass off. Picture this, alright? You and I know how gamers get when they smell a rat. Grey Rose was losing her mind trying to figure out if that dark figure was actually me, the shadow. She was spinning crazy conspiracy theories, asking why those silver bosses completely ignored me. She thought I had some secret cheat code to blind them. Honestly, she wasn't even close to the truth. Meanwhile, Shelltown was an absolute nightmare. Built for 10,000 people, but we had 10 times that crammed in like sardines. Every monster got hunted to extinction. Even Wang Meng and his elite squad were struggling, only hitting level 5 after 3 brutal hours. Lin Liu had her flashy gold tier skill gathering dust. Wang Meng wanted to teleport to a dead town to actually grind, but Lin told him they had to wait to trade with yours truly first. Right next to them, Qin Xiaoyu was quietly listening, trying so hard not to bust out laughing. While they were stuck in that mess, I was deep inside the Temple of Faith. A normal guy would die 100 times trying to clear this place, but I knew the layout. Plus, I had my silver tier devout believer crawling ahead as a meat shield. We walked down a hallway lit up with blue stars, straight up to a massive bronze gate. I told my summon to push it open, but it didn't budge an inch. I stepped up and tapped the cold metal. The second my fingers hit it, the heavy doors started grinding open. I jumped back, expecting an ambush, but all I saw was a giant starlit room with an altar. Standing right there was a woman in a heavy white robe, her face completely hidden by a hood. She had her arms crossed, bowing to that glowing altar. I didn't rush in like an idiot. I tried to scan her but got zero information back. A total blank. When I finally stepped into the room, she slowly turned around and actually dropped down onto one knee right in front of me. She bowed her head, murmuring something while starlight glowed in her hands. Then she'd just melt into a cloud of sparkles and vanished. I stood there frowning. Did she just ghost me? But then I noticed this blindingly bright gold chest sitting on the altar. A regular gold chest has a dull shine, but this thing was a flashbang. That meant it was an epic drop. My eyes lit up, but I played it safe. I sent my meat shield over to pop the lid, just in case it was rigged to blow. Thankfully, we were good. The summon reached inside, pulled out a skill book, and walked it straight over to my hands. I looked at the cover and my heart stopped. An assassin's ultimate skill. Coup de grace, epic tier. The passive alone was busted, giving 100% weak point hit correction and doubling the critical multiplier. Usually, you gotta perfectly stab a guy in the heart, but with this, the system actually bends your blade toward the target like aim assist on a console game. Later on, we'll fight headless freaks where the weak spot is just a tiny glowing dot. A normal guy misses that all day. For me, hitting that dot would be a total joke. It literally doubles the size of the bullseye, and the active effect, throat slit, is just as ridiculous. You pop it, and your next hit applies a brutal bleed that deals 100% of the original damage every second for 3 whole seconds. The cooldown was only around 44 seconds. Think about how broken that is. Let's do the math. You and I know I love a good multiplier. If I pop throat slit and slash a guy for 300 damage, the bleed hits him for another 300 every second for 3 seconds. That is 300 times 4, making 1200 damage from one swing. Imagine stacking that with Shadow Flash Slash, where 9 strikes count as 1 attack. My burst damage just went to the moon. I could evolve it to legendary for 10 points, but I only had 3. The whole labyrinth was totally empty, which really bummed me out. I figured my Eye of Judgment cleared the place out. Whatever. With this skill, I could easily one-shot a gold tier boss. I hopped on the stone platform, and it shot me 500 meters up to the surface. When I stepped off, the stone melted into scorched earth like it never existed. I cracked my neck. Wang Meng and his crew had to be online by now. Listen, you and I both know how annoying inventory limits are. My bag was packed, so I had to dump my loot. I hit up Lin Liu for a deal, and she drops a huge bombshell. Qin Xiaoyu. I did not expect my sister to show up in the God-forsaken land this early, let alone weasel into Wang Meng's squad. I knew her game instantly. She was hunting for Shadow, trying to latch onto a heavy hitter. I spent my last life dealing with her, so I know how her brain works. The timeline is scrambled this time, but I kept my cool. If she is with Wang Meng, there is zero chance I am selling them any priest gear. I am not giving her a single inch, and I am definitely not acting like I know her. There are way too many eyeballs on the name Shadow right now to risk blowing my cover over family drama. I hadn't pulled my abilities into the real world yet. If my identity leaked, one guy with a handgun could end my run. Exposing myself was suicide. But I was close to level 10, where I could finally bring my stealth skill into reality. 10 minutes later, I walked back into Shell Town. The servers were flooding with players, but I never expected this place to be such a madhouse. Just a massive sea of bodies. The second I stepped out in my Ghostfire leather armor, every head turned. Total chaos. People screaming my name, begging for friend requests. Some corporate suit tried to hire me, guys offered to be my cheerleaders, and one dude even pitched his sister to me. I didn't blink. I fired off a Shadow Flash Slash, launched 30 meters away, and popped into stealth mode before they could blink. I ditched the fan club and met Lin Liu's crew behind a busted building. Right in the back was Qin Xiaoyu, nervously looking around like a paranoid meerkat. I dropped stealth and let my eyes slide past my sister like she was a total ghost. Not a single word, I just pulled gear from my bag. I tossed Wang Meng a gold tier warrior set for 280 lifespan days, then an archer skill for 520. Dirt cheap prices. Wang Meng gave a tight smile, admitting he only had 925 days on him. I waved it off, telling him to put it on credit. The pile was 2,200 days total, but his official backers were good for it. He traded me 900 days, grabbed the loot, and thanked me like I saved his life. The squad was losing their minds over scoring gold gear this early. Wang Meng's guys were practically crying tears of joy over their new buffs. But then somebody asked the million-dollar question. Why is there nothing for the priest? I saw Qin Xiaoyu freeze up. I didn't even flinch, just silently popped stealth and vanished. The funny thing is, I actually had insane priest loot in my bag, a gold tier scepter and a skill book. But no way in hell was I giving that to my sister. My real plan was to find a better priest, shove them into Wang Meng's squad, and get Xiaoyu kicked out. I needed this official channel to fence my bulk gear without her ruining my business. As I walked away, a system alert popped up. Player Little U, yes, sent a friend request with a sickeningly sweet message introducing herself as the squad's priest. I just frowned in the dark. Always so damn polite to strangers, wasn't she? With me, she always wore a permanent scowl. I completely ignored her request. My inbox was flooded with randoms anyway, so leaving her on red was effortless. Stick with me here, because this is where my day actually gets fun. I hit the town square teleporter and locked in my destination. Firefly Town. That was Songfei's starting zone. A cold grin crept onto my face. I figured I should go murder that guy a few times just to say hello. In my past life, my sister was the idiot who poisoned me, but Songfei was the snake pulling the strings. He was the one I needed dead. But to kill him in the real world, I had to terrorize him so badly in the game that he logged off in a total panic. If he just hid in a safe zone, I couldn't touch him. Grinding monsters while casually ruining his entire life sounded like a pretty perfect afternoon to me. Even if I couldn't end Songfei today, I could bully him offline and finish him later. I had another reason for hitting Firefly Town though. Gu Yixu was there. In my past life, she was a powerhouse with a hidden divine priest class. My sister had a hidden class too, but that brat had zero combat sense. Gu Yixu? She once soloed an epic boss. She was my real right-hand woman. If I found her, I'd recruit her straight into Wang Meng's squad. A top-tier healer would instantly make my sister obsolete, forcing them to kick her to the curb. I didn't want any wildcards screwing up my run, and Xiaoyu was a massive one. Plus, dropping Gu Yixu onto their roster was the perfect way to test Wang Meng's loyalty and see how his official handlers reacted to my moves. The teleporter flashed, and I stepped out into Firefly Town, ready to cause some chaos. I hit stealth, burned my free daily teleport, and dropped right into Firefly Town. Compared to the absolute zoo back in Shell Town, this place was practically dead. Just a few guys selling junk, and constant flashes of white light as poor suckers respawned looking miserable. I was scouting for Songfei, getting nowhere, until I overheard some freshly dead guys complaining. Apparently, Songfei was out fighting a silver tier boss, using a literal army of fangirls to block damage for him. I had to laugh. The guy is a D-list celebrity, and these girls are throwing their lives away for him. It hit me if I hadn't stepped up, my own sister might have been one of those human shields. He didn't even roll a hidden class, just a basic flashy mage. He thought he could coast on his groupies to get ahead. You and I both know that math doesn't hold up. Time to ruin his week. Zero chance I'm letting Songfei catch a break this time. I tailed those angry players out of town, refreshing my stealth in the shadows to stay hidden. We cut through a pitch-black forest and hit Wailing Valley. It is a level 5 zone crawling with fire-tossing embercasters and chain ghouls that literally try to bite your face off. Truly freaky stuff. As I crept deeper, the noise hit me: explosions, yelling, and young girls cursing like actual sailors. I peeked over a ridge and saw it. Dead center stood a silver tier boss, a twin-headed embercaster. 10 feet tall, dripping in blood-red fire, with two eyeless heads grinning like psychos. It had 4 arms launching fireballs everywhere, roasting anyone dumb enough to push forward. Right in the middle of that chaos, a massive mob was desperately trying to take it down. I just crouched there, calculating the angles, waiting for my opening. Here is the kicker: they weren't just fighting the boss, they were killing each other. Right in the center was Songfei, wearing an edgy black robe and looking smug as hell. His username? Heaven-defying Archmage. I swear, you can't make this cringe up, but his fangirls loved it. Guys were trying to gank him, but his groupies threw themselves into the line of fire like Secret Service agents. The dirt was littered with bodies, half of them his own fans. Get this, his party was 6 mages. No tank. No healer. Why need a tank when you have a literal human wall of teenagers? Why need a healer if you never take a hit? All this clown had to do was stand in the back, spam spells, and soak up free XP while these girls died for him. He actually thought he was some tactical genius. I'm just watching this circus from the shadows, running the numbers on exactly how fast I can drop his health bar to 0. Song Fei genuinely believed he was top dog. He thought my world first gold boss kill was just a glitch. In his mind, if a silver boss is this hard, nobody solos a gold one without cheating. He was high on his own ego, sitting at level 6 and muttering about overtaking me for the number 1 spot. He ordered his army of girls to go all in, attacking any rival players who got close. When the boss dropped to 1/3 of its health, it looked like a guaranteed win for him. That is exactly when I decided playtime was over. I slipped right through his little human wall of defenders. I popped out of stealth for a split second, right over his shoulder. Before he could blink, I vanished again, unleashing 9 lightning-fast blade strikes that completely shredded him and his front line. A massive negative 1995 popped up over his head in bright red numbers. Sweet dreams, pretty boy. So get this. I drop out of stealth and absolutely melt this guy, Song Fei. Minus 2052. Minus 2009. I am doing the math in my head, and he is just gone. Sent straight back to the Firefly Town Plaza. The system must have slapped him with a massive lifespan penalty 18 years, non-tradable, just wiped away. I can picture his greasy face contorting when he realized what happened. Why is Shadow here? He is probably whining to his ridiculous fan club of mage sisters who I also sent packing right after him. They were probably standing around the plaza, crying about how I am a coward for sneaking up on them. Yeah, no kidding. I am a rogue. What did they expect? I bet this clown was standing in the plaza, slicking back his hair, telling his fangirls that I would be a sitting duck once my stealth wore off, but I wasn't stopping. I stayed right there in Wang Valley and turned it into an absolute meat grinder. Back in town, he had to be watching in horror as his entire squad kept respawning around him, one by one. I was moving too fast for them to even track. They were probably whining to him, crying about how their ice spikes only hit me for 2 damage. 2! I have got 75% evasion, man. Half their stuff didn't even connect, and when it did, it was like a mosquito bite. I wiped every single one of his people off the map in a matter of minutes. You and I both know how these toxic groups operate. They couldn't actually fight, so they tried to talk me to death. Cursing, screaming for their mommies, throwing every insult in the book at me. But trash talk doesn't penetrate gold-tier Ghostfire leather, my friend. I sliced right through them like a hot knife through butter. There were about 15 or 20 random solo players hanging around the edge of the valley, and they were just standing there, jaws on the floor. They had been getting their teeth kicked in by Song Fei's group all day, so watching me butcher them had to be a trip. I could hear them whispering, realizing I was the guy who got the world first gold boss kill. They backed way up. So the randoms backed off, looking at me like I was the Grim Reaper. I hit Shadow Mold and dropped into stealth. They probably thought I was dipping out. Nope. I whipped out a virulent poison dart and drilled it straight into one of the twin-headed flameburner's skulls. Boom. The boss had 1/3 of its health left, several thousand hit points, and that one dart completely emptied its bar. The randoms lost their minds. I could hear them panicking, doing the math on how my damage was 100 times higher than theirs. They thought they were playing League and I was using totally different stats. The boss hit the dirt with a massive crash, setting the ground on fire. I popped out and just looked at them. I just told them to get out of here, and man, they scrambled, vanished into the woods like their shoes were on fire. Can't blame them, honestly. Dying here means losing real years off your life, and they just watched me mop the floor with 50 people. Just to be safe, I rang my Ghostfire bell. It sends out a creepy sound wave for 100 meters that yanks anyone out of stealth and freezes them. Nobody was there. All clear. I walked up to the boss and hit it with greedy hand. Silver and gold loot exploded everywhere, 3 extra drops. But honestly, my inventory is completely stuffed. I really need to hit level 10 so I can leave this starter town, but I am still 1/3 of a level short. If only my loot skill stole experience points too, right? Listen, if greedy hand worked like that, it would be absolutely busted. But the real prize here was bagging 16 evolution points. I opened my skill menu and immediately dropped 10 points to evolve Coup de Grace. It jumps from epic to legendary, leaving me with 9 points. My weak point hit correction shoots up to 200%. That literally doubles the size of every enemy's weak spot. I'm looking around like, is everyone just a giant walking bullseye now? With the right setup, even my Shadow Flash is gonna hit weak points. My throat slit damage goes through the roof, and the cooldown drops to 25 seconds. That is 4.5 times the extra damage. I'm not even kidding, man. I could genuinely one-shot a gold boss right now. But then I checked the next tier. 10 points got me to legendary, but to hit mythic? The system wants 200 points. Unbelievable. I just had to shake my head. No matter how many evolution points I get, it is never enough. Doing the math, if my epic greedy hand needs 210 points, what happens at legendary? Over 3 grand? Yeah, I've got a long road ahead. But honestly, once I get out of this starting town, farming a couple hundred points should be a breeze. I took my last 9 points and dropped 8 to bump backstab enhancement to platinum, giving me a solid 40% damage boost. I scooped up all the lifespan orbs on the ground, scoring over 1400 days of tradable life, plus a few decades from the boss. Popped stealth, and got the hell out of the Valley of Wailing. But guess what? While I'm leaving, that absolute clown Song Fei respawns in town. He's throwing a tantrum, and one of his little groupies just learned Eagle Eye to break stealth, while another got an ice stun. They really thought they were gonna hunt me down. So picture this, I'm out there minding my business, and this guy Song Fei actually thinks he's got the upper hand. He's got this whole squad of fangirls hyping him up like he's some kind of god. They're running their mouths, bragging about their area control and stealth detection, saying what's one little assassin going to do to our precious brother. Honestly, hearing them say brother every 2 seconds almost made me lose my lunch. They go marching toward the Valley of Wailing like they own the server. Everyone else is just watching this train wreck, whispering that I am totally screwed. They figured a squishy assassin against a mage with crowd control was a guaranteed loss. Some folks actually felt bad for me. But I'm just sitting there, doing the math in my head, completely unfazed. You and I both know how these crowds operate. They all followed from a distance, just dying to see the show. And Song Fei, his ego was blowing up like a hot air balloon. I could see it on his face. He seriously thought he was going to make me his stepping stone, just because I got the first gold boss kill. He figured his basic mage class was somehow better than my hidden assassin setup. Then there was this hunter girl with the Hawkeye skill clinging to him. She was practically crying because she ran out of mana when he died earlier, so now she was trying to make up for it by practically gluing herself to his arm. The whole thing was just pathetic. He didn't even care about her, he just needed her as a walking radar. It's hilarious, really. He had absolutely no idea what he was walking into. Picture this, alright? This idiot's group is marching toward Wailing Valley, all puffed up, definitely trying to hunt me down for revenge. I am already in stealth, creeping right back up to them. My shadow class gave me a +1 to stealth, making me a literal ghost at this stage. I slide right up next to Song Fei. Guy has this ridiculous, smug look. I don't even stab him right away. Nah, I just tap him on the shoulder twice. He spins around, panicking. Tapping doesn't break stealth, you see. I lean in close and whisper, just letting you know, you are about to die. He absolutely loses his mind, screaming for his girls to protect him. But before anyone can blink, I pop out and hit him and his fan club with a massive shadow slash. -2218. Absolute bloodbath. I completely deleted Song Fei again. He managed to pop a magic shield, but that garbage only absorbs maybe 400 damage. My shadow slash ripped right through it like wet paper. Back at the town square, he must have been sick to his stomach. Dying twice wiped out a massive chunk of his stash. He went from 2,000 days of lifespan down to 500. All that time his fan club fed him, dropping straight into my pockets. I can picture him interrogating his archer girl, asking why her hawk eye didn't spot me. The poor girl is hyperventilating, swearing she saw absolutely nothing. She is probably terrified he's gonna kick her out. But you know these popular streamer types, he knows better than to scream at his cash cows. He just stands there, totally baffled by my ghost act. They are panicking in party chat. One of his girls finally pieces it together, guessing my stealth level is just higher. The archer realizes her hawk eye only has level 1 detection, making her blind to anything higher. Song Fei finally realizes he picked a fight with a ghost. He must have been sweating bullets. Knowing I had enough time to casually tap his shoulder before ending him? That breaks a guy. Meanwhile, I am standing over the loot doing the math out loud. First kill netted me 1,000 days, the second got me 500, but the craziest part? His fangirls had 0 drops. They seriously handed him every second of their tradable lives. It absolutely blew my mind. Did these kids actually think this was just some casual video game with no real-world consequences? If the game allowed it, those fans probably would have given him their permanent lifespan too. Fanatics are terrifying. I just stared at the glowing orbs scattered in the dirt. Hundreds of years worth of time. Totally untradeable now. Some random monsters were about to get a free buffet. Slipping back into town, I saw Song Fei's crew was gone. I eavesdropped while invisible and heard he went to grind in another direction. Finding him in the wild was going to be a massive pain. But then I spotted a familiar face. A girl in a white priest robe with a little white owl on her shoulder. Gu Yixu. In my past life, she was a core manager of my god-slaying guild. I knew her well, but right now we were total strangers. Her class had insane area detection though. I figured I'd introduce myself early this time, so I dropped my stealth right in her path. Her in-game name was Snowy Day. I stepped in her path and asked for a favor. She gave me a confused look, but then her eyes went wide. She recognized me as Shadow. It finally hit me that I was basically internet famous in this timeline. I skipped the small talk, telling her I knew her class could scan massive areas, and asked her to track down Song Fei. To sweeten the deal, I flashed a golden grade priest staff from that ghost ship boss. I meant to sell it to Wang Meng, but his priest was Qin Xiaoyu, which was a hard pass. Offering it to Yixu was a win-win. The second she saw the gold glow, her eyes lit up. Then she got suspicious, asking how I knew about her secret skills. I told her not to sweat the details and asked if she wanted the gear. She nodded furiously, admitting she probably couldn't afford it. I told her 500 days, a steal since it is worth 800. She dumped her entire stash into the trade. Her game sense was insane, exactly why she was a core fighter in my old guild. She grabbed the golden gear and just stood there grinning like an idiot until I waved my hand to snap her out of it. She laughed, asking if I was worried she would run off with it. I smirked and asked if she was one of Songfei's fans. She narrowed her eyes, wondering if we knew each other offline since I read her so well. I just shrugged. She rolled her eyes and sent her white owl flying up. Her own eyes went totally white as she linked her vision to the bird, scanning for miles around Firefly Town. Honestly, with a massive crowd of fangirls trailing him, Song Fei was basically a walking neon sign in the middle of nowhere. Picture this. Gu Yixu finally gets me the coordinates, but she's all nervous, warning me they might move by the time I get there. I tell her to add me as a friend and keep eyes on them. She starts panicking, thinking I'm gonna make her play Watchtower for 24 hours straight. I tell her it'll only take a minute. I didn't have the energy to explain the master plan, so I tossed her a friend request, popped my stealth, and booked it out of town. Meanwhile, this idiot Song Fei is marching his literal fan club of girls down this muddy riverbank, just steamrolling low-level monsters. The guy actually convinced himself I wouldn't track him all the way out here. He really thought killing him twice settled the score. Man, he was in for a rude awakening. Song Fei is out there living his best life, completely oblivious that I'm closing the gap. I'm sprinting down the riverside in full stealth, wiping out garbage tier monsters along the way. I hit the brakes the second I reach this massive, gnarled tree. Gu Yixu messages me, totally lost since she can't see me while I'm invisible. I drop my stealth, point at the trunk, and ask her to spot any other trees like it nearby. She's probably thinking I've lost my mind. Aren't we hunting a guy? Why do we care about landscaping? But 20 seconds later, she spots two more close by. I check the trunks and find these weird, ancient symbols carved right into the bark. She asks what they mean. I just tell her to take a wild guess, tracing my finger straight over the rough markings. I run my fingers over these weird symbols on the bark, and boom, the trunks light up. Right between the trees, a glowing emerald chest pops into thin air. Yixu's eyes are bugging out. I completely tune her out and step up to the prize. Who expects an ancient god's blessing in the newbie village? Normally, matching these symbols is pure trial and error. Hit the wrong combo, and you summon a boss that wipes you out. But you and I both know my secret. I've got 9 years of memories from my past life. I punch in the exact code for the best drop. I pop the lid, and Yixu is losing her mind, screaming how an emerald chest is worth 1,000 days of lifespan, maybe tens of millions of bucks. She wasn't wrong. Day 1, rich guys were dropping 20 grand in cash just to buy a single day of life. And that 20 grand, just the starting bid. By day 2, the price hit 50 grand and it kept climbing until regular cash meant absolutely nothing. The feds were just printing money non-stop to hoard lifespan. While Yixu is staring at those trees to memorize the patterns, I almost laughed. Every chest spawns with different symbols. If she tries that on her own, she'll just summon monsters and get wrecked. Anyway, I reach into the chest and a system chime goes off. Emerald grade skill book, Blooming Curse. I just stood there frozen. In all my 9 years fighting through this hell, I had never even heard that name. I pull the book out. It's glowing a sick green color, and right on the cover is a blood-red flower twisted into this massive, creepy, sinister smile. Let me tell you, when I read the description for this emerald grade skill book, I actually sucked in a breath. Blooming Curse. You use it on a player within 15 seconds of zeroing them, and this freaky flower sprouts out of their corpse, and just slurps up their tradable lifespan until they hit 0. No cooldown either. Naturally, the flower gets its own health bar, meaning some do-gooder could smash it. But hey, I did the math. If I just wipe out every breathing soul in the time zone, who's left to step on my flowers? Nobody, that's who. I was practically grinning as I learned it. In my past life, I heard rumors about this nightmare skill, but seeing it in my own hands, oh, Song Fei was about to have a really bad day. I slipped back into stealth while Gu Yixu kept watch, probably drooling a little over my loot. Listen, stick with me here, because this is where it gets hilarious. I was moving like an absolute freight train toward the rear bank. 100 meters took me maybe 3 seconds flat. Up ahead, my boy Fei was sweating over a level 7 boss, getting ready to land the final hit. I slipped right up behind him and whispered, "Just letting you know, you are about to die." The guy practically jumped out of his boots. Before he could even turn around, I flicked a venomous dart right into the back of his skull. Boom, 2,115 damage. It was only a silver grade skill, but on a squishy little mage with under $1,000 for health, absolute overkill. Plus, the poison tick would have melted him anyway. As his vision faded, I could practically see the gears grinding in his head, wondering why I had beef with him. You know what's funny? I could totally picture his inner monologue while he was eating dirt. He definitely thought I was just some jealous hater out to ruin his life because he had a fan club. Seriously, the guy had spent 2.5 years building this whole harem of fangirls, and he probably figured I was just some lonely loser who couldn't get a date. Whatever helps him sleep at night, right? Out in the real world, maybe he'd call the cops, but in this game, no laws, buddy. Just me and my daggers. But here was the kicker: for him, dying normally halves your tradable lifespan. He started with 2 grand, dropped down to around 500 after I killed him before, but his loyal little flock had gifted him another 300, so he was sitting pretty at 800 days. At least, that's what he thought. Here is where the math really hits him. He had 860 days total, so he should have dropped to 430. But nope. He watches his timer just bleed out 390, 380, 370, and he is completely losing his mind, thinking the game gave him a penalty. Meanwhile, I'm busy putting his entire fan club in the dirt, sending them right back to the respawn point. As they pop in next to him, they start panicking about this creepy blood-red flower growing out of his corpse, sucking his life dry. The dude just straight up collapsed. Realized he picked the wrong guy to mess with. Back at the river, it was dead quiet, just me and over 30 fresh corpses. Knocking them all out stacked my Slayer penalty up to 4 layers, which is normally a huge problem. So, 4 layers of Slayer means if I die, I lose almost 97% of my lifespan. For a normal guy, that's game over. But me? I had the Ghostfire Bell in my pocket, which meant I lost absolutely 0 days if I bought the farm. Literally a free pass. I started doing the math on these blood-red flowers blooming out of the bodies. It looked like their health was the square of the player's level. Song Fei was level 6, so his flower had 3,600 HP right now. Nobody had the damage to clear that fast. And like I said, if I just murder anyone who tries, the flowers are perfectly safe. Having 30 of those things funneling over 1,000 days of lifespan right into my pockets. Unbelievable. Up in the sky, I knew Yixu was watching through her bird, freaking out over how I wiped a platoon single-handedly. Honestly, I don't blame Yixu for shivering in her robes. Looking down at a field of glowing red parasite flowers is seriously creepy stuff. Over in the graveyard, Song Fei was having a full-blown meltdown. He wanted to grind to level 10 and show me up, but instead, my flower sucked his tradable lifespan dry in under a minute. Even his bound lifespan was practically on empty. One more death and he was gone for real. A smart guy would just teleport to a different town and hide. But this guy's ego? Way too big. He spent years building his image, so he wasn't about to run. He tells his girls they're all logging off so he can bust out his credit card in the real world, buy a mountain of lifespan, and come back in pay-to-win gear. Then, he and his squad just vanished into thin air. While I was staring at this freaky smiling flower, I found out later what was going down with those crazy Song Fei fangirls. When they logged off, they were in total denial. Half of them were thrilled they got to hang out with their favorite pop star. The other half were crying because the guy they called a mad dog named Shadow had absolutely slaughtered them. They were online planning to pool their cash to buy him more lives. See, they'd been glued to him since minute 1 and totally missed the global news alerts. They thought it was just a regular video game. They handed over their lifespan without a second thought. It wasn't until they logged out that reality hit them like a freight train. The game was real. Dying meant actual death. And because I smoked them 3 times, their real life clocks were almost out. Absolute panic broke out online. You had teenagers screaming they started with 70 years to live and were suddenly down to barely 12 months. Since they'd been hunting players to protect their precious idol, the game slapped them with a killer status, meaning every time I dropped them, they lost double the lifespan. They literally threw themselves in front of arrows for this guy. Suddenly they realized they only had a year left on Earth. Most were bawling, regretting every second of it. But honestly, some were so brainwashed they thought taking a bullet for a singer was completely worth it. Unbelievable. Meanwhile, Song Fei was frantically throwing cash at the screen. He dropped his last 100 million buying thousands of days of lifespan, figuring he could max out his gear and hunt me down. Good luck with that, buddy. Once Song Fei logged off, I couldn't get to him in the game anymore. But he didn't realize reality was where the real danger was waiting for him. Anyway, I walked back into the plaza of Firefly Town and found Yixu waiting for me. I told her to let me know the second he logs back on. She gave me this nervous little nod, looking completely terrified. Watching me slaughter that whole fan club and leave red flowers sprouting out of their corpses definitely gave the poor girl some trauma. I pulled out a gold tier priest skill, Sword of Holy Judgment, and offered it for 500 days of lifespan. Her eyes lit up, but she awkwardly asked if I did financing. I told her I'd cut the price in half if she agreed to do one thing. She immediately backs up, hugs herself, and says, "Look, I'm not selling myself." I just stared at her. Like, seriously? I literally just wanted her to join my buddy's squad. So look, to get Xiaoyu out of the picture, I had to slide a powerhouse healer into their squad. Enter Gu Yixu. She tilts her head, thinks for a second, and hits me with, "Fine, but if they drag me down, I am coming straight for your neck, big shot." I just laughed. Not happening, they are decent. Man, if Wang Meng heard me call his crew just decent, he would have a stroke. To normal players, they were upper echelon. I hit up Wang Meng. "Got a Whitebird Divine Priest, hidden class. You want her?" I figured he would push back. But nah, he replies instantly, "Bro, if you say she is decent, she is golden." I told them to meet us at Firefly Town. He was hyped because Shell Town was packed with players. Yixu and I stepped aside to wait. Over in Shell Town, Wang Meng was literally sighing in relief. He was so done with Xiaoyu. You gotta understand, as a priest, her only job was to drop buffs and keep health bars from hitting 0. Not exactly rocket science. But Xiaoyu lost her mind every time someone took damage. In God Abandoned, healing does not lock on. You actually have to aim. So Wang Meng would be dodging a monster, and she would totally whiff the heal, throwing the squad into panic mode. He was about to dump her anyway when I hit him up. Plus, his bosses told him to bend over backwards for me. Easy choice. He plays it smooth. "Xiaoyu, we are moving zones. You are out of free teleports, right? And we got a full 6-man team of coworkers waiting." She actually thought he was gonna spot her the 100 days of lifespan to travel. Nope. Walking papers. It was a tough break since she usually just coasted for free experience. "Thanks for everything," she told him. Here is the kicker. Xiaoyu was already doing mental gymnastics, thinking she could use Wang Meng to get to me later. She had no clue he was just tossing her out the airlock with a smile. Once they split, he was never checking those messages again. Anyway, Wang Meng and his crew warp into Firefly Town. He brought an archer and a card master. That class is wild, pure magic damage but no staffs or normal spells. Wang Meng walks up, opens a trade, and drops 800 days of lifespan on me. "Still owe you 500, he laughs. "Captain An is bringing it. This game makes lifespan a grind." I grabbed the time and introduced him to Yixu. Just then, this absolute knockout of a cop comes sprinting out of the teleport chamber. Silver armor, sword on her hip, crazy long legs. It was An Yu, the beauty who handled my official contact stuff. I am telling you, when she ran over, she was turning heads. I took one look and thought, wait, that is actually An Yu, the only dragon swordsman in the game. In my past life, this girl was top 20 globally. Absolute heavy hitter for the government. Before I could even do the math on the timeline, she is standing right in front of me. Shadow. Wow, it is really you. I am An Yu, huge fan. She sticks her hand out looking like she just met a rock star. Man, that hit me weird. This was the first time I bumped into someone who used to outclass me. Back then, she gave rival guilds night terrors. Me, I was just a regular warrior. If we fought back then, she would have wiped the floor with me. But right now, she is a level 5 nobody. I am light years ahead. I just reached out and shook her hand like it was a normal Tuesday. Shadow, your leveling speed is insane, she says, looking at me like I am made of gold. I was joking with the guys that you gotta be a transmigrator or reincarnated or something. I just smirked under my black veil. You and I both know she was accidentally dead on. I am literally both. She holds her hand out again. Let us trade. I got the 500 days of lifespan Wang Meng owes you. It made sense the city used her as a walking bank. Her class was tough, making her a safe bet. I took the time. Then she blinks at me and goes, "Hey, sell us any good gear you find. Also, I am carrying all the city lifespan right now. You are not going to kill me for it, right?" She played the airhead, but that was a pure test. I had no reason to fight the government. Grinding monsters and selling them the loot long term was way more profitable than a quick hit. Picture this. I'm looking at Gu Yixu, doing the math in my head. Who knows how much lifespan she actually had left? If I wasted a slash and only knocked off a couple of days, I'd be taking a massive loss. So I just nodded, kept my mouth shut, and literally tossed her over to Wang Meng's squad. Time to go level up. A quick glance at my experience bar showed I was barely a third away from hitting level 10. I figured I'd max out in half an hour, jump back to reality, and extract my abilities. Meanwhile, Qin Xiaoyu had just logged off. She was sitting on almost 200 days of tradable lifespan. At 15 grand a day, she was ready to cash out. But the second she opened WeChat, she saw the news. Her precious idol, Song Fei, got slaughtered by 3 times. She knew lifespan here meant real life. Dying 3 times meant he just lost decades of his actual life. So Xiaoyu's brain is just completely short-circuiting. Up until now, she was fully on the Song Fei bandwagon, but her head was spinning. After all, I was the guy who just bagged the world's first gold-tier boss kill, and I completely wiped the floor with her boy Song Fei while he had an entourage of dozens guarding him. The sheer power difference was hilarious. Plus, it kind of stung her that Song Fei was partying with all these girls in-game and didn't even invite her. She was actually debating whether to jump ship to Team Shadow. She wanted to sell her lifespan to a classmate for the full 15 grand, but then some admin in Song Fei's group chat started begging. They wanted the local girls to run over and sell their lifespan to him for a heavily discounted 10 grand a day. A total ripoff, claiming it was a chance to save their brother, but the cheap trick hooked her. She actually decided to run down to Grand River Plaza and take a financial hit just to save her idol. Wild logic, but not my problem. While she was playing hero, I was putting on a masterclass in the high-level zones of Firefly Town. I went straight to the coastline, where the nastiest level 10 monsters hang out. Spell-slinging tidecallers, sneaky burrowers, and giant armored lobsters called crimson shellbacks. None of them survived a single hit. They were just walking bags of experience and lifespan. Thanks to my epic greedy hand skill, I raked in the evolution points. I dumped 13 points into my backstab enhancement, pushing it from platinum to emerald. That bumped my rear damage bonus from 40 to a massive 50%. Then, with one quick shadow slash, I chopped 2 lobsters in half and finally hit level 10. The system rewards just started pouring in. 2 points to all my attributes, 5 free points to spend, and I finally unlocked class advancement. Then the big server announcements hit. 7 reputation points for being first in Jianghai City, 14 for the nation, and 21 for being first globally. We needed 7 level 10s to unlock the main continent. Even after wasting 3 hours in a temple, I was still miles ahead of the pack. My solo one-shot pace was just untouchable. Most pro teams right now need 30 seconds just to take down a single mob. I remember in my past life the first level 10 didn't show up until evening, some guy from North America. Hitting the cap triggered a massive server-wide alert. Everyone was losing their minds over me getting another global first, and the gossip about me wrecking that celebrity was everywhere. The forums were absolutely ruthless. People were pointing out Song Fei crying on social media, begging to buy lifespan, and laughing at the idiot for thinking he could get revenge on me. He barely hit level 6 with a whole squad of girls holding his hand. Overseas, the foreigners were completely losing their minds over the name Shadow. The Sakura Nation players were screaming because their best guy was stuck at level 7. This guy Smith, with the only hidden class, was whining about being stuck at 8. Even the massive player base in Tianjin couldn't believe I was solo grinding this fast. The whole world was scrambling to figure out my real identity, and the authorities were already quietly running their own investigations. But standing on the coast of Firefly Town, I just tuned out all the noise and casually pulled up my attribute panel to see what I was working with. I skimmed the numbers. Non-tradable lifespan sitting at 1,219 years. My tradable lifespan was only at 7,455 days. Agility stacked at 111, while the other stats hovered around 40. 7,000 days sounded nice, but it was nowhere near enough. After level 10, the experience curve goes completely insane. Grinding normal mobs wouldn't cut it. I needed my class advancement to unlock those broken exclusive skills that make my hidden class so overpowered. I figured I either had to go hunt a boss or wait for 6 other players to hit the cap. But before that, I had business in reality. I closed my eyes, letting my avatar fade out of Firefly Town. Back in Jianghai City, inside an apartment on the 11th floor of Shanshui Impression, my body slowly solidified on the bed as a system prompt chimed in. The system hits me. Do I want to burn tradable lifespan to pull my abilities into the real world? Heck yes, I do. A menu pops up for class, equipment, and skills. The game plays fair here. Whether you have a basic class or a broken hidden one, it costs a flat 1,000 days to pull it over. I didn't even blink. I dumped the days and ripped my unique shadow class straight into reality. Boom, my strength, agility, and spirit spiked instantly. I could literally feel the power flooding my veins. Next up was my level, which permanently cements your real-world stats. Before level 10, it costs 1,000 days per level. Doing the math out loud, I knew it was worth every single second. I slapped down another 2,000 days to pull level 2 straight into my physical body. Now I'm level 3 in reality, with 4,000 days of lifespan left. Next up, skills. My talent lets me evolve skills, and normally, higher tiers drain exponential lifespan. But get this, the system only charged me based on the skills-based tier. I'd already evolved Shadow Veil to Platinum. Usually that costs over 10 grand in lifespan. Right now, just the base 900 days. Plus it stays synced, so in-game upgrades carry over for free. I couldn't stop grinning. I instantly dropped the days on Shadow Veil and my virulent poison dart. My balance drained down to 1,300 days, which definitely stunk. But the payoff? I went from an average guy to having physical stats nearly double a normal human's. My speed was completely off the charts. I could sprint 100 meters in 5 seconds flat. It was more than enough to put Song Fei in the ground. You and I both know I survived 9 years of the apocalypse in my past life. I wasn't about to let this jerk get a foothold. My class passive doubled my stealth, meaning I could stay invisible forever. With a poison dart I can snipe from 14 meters out. He was dead meat. The only issue was finding his real-world body. But the idiot was openly buying lifespan, which meant face-to-face meetings. His location was basically on a billboard. I woke up in my bedroom back in Jianghai City, clenching my fist, feeling that terrifying new strength settling into my bones. Time to go hunt. Picture this. My phone starts buzzing. It's Hu Kibin, my old supervisor. In my past life, this overweight jerk chewed me out for being late on this exact day. Now, I couldn't care less. I hang up. He calls again. Blocked. Then he shoots me a text talking big, saying some young lady's giving me one last chance, otherwise I'm dead meat. Yeah, right. I delete the message and block his account too. Ah, sweet silence. Look, you and I both know when it's time to handle business. Target acquired, Song Fei. He was over at Dajiang Plaza buying up lifespan, just a quick 7 or 8 kilometers away. Doing the math in my head, I figured I could jog that in about 10 minutes flat while invisible. Tossed my phone on the bed. Time to go to work. I threw on a gray mask and a black jacket, and just like that, I faded right out of existence. Totally invisible. If anybody walking down the street saw me, they'd have lost their minds. Why? Because this was the first time anyone pulled an ability from the godforsaken game into the real world. Nobody knew it was possible, which meant Song Fei was sitting there, completely defenseless. Fast forward to 4 in the afternoon at Dajiang Plaza. The place was packed with his female fans, all desperate to sell the lifespan they farmed in the game. In the middle of the madness, surrounded by 20 security guards, sat Song Fei in a white vest and sunglasses. Next to him was Jiang Li, the daughter of the Dajiang industrial chairman. She was just using him to scoop up cheap lifespan for herself. I creep up close and Jiang Li's laughing, asking how much lifespan he bought. Song Fei brags about bagging 2,000 days for 20 million bucks. Then she brings up how I, going by the name Shadow, killed him 3 times in the game. She tells him she's hunting for my real identity right here in Jianghai City. Her brilliant plan was to throw money at me until I show up to collect, then trap me. They were literally laughing about beating me up. I figured it was time to crash the party. A dark green dart materialized and punched straight through his forehead. Thud. He dropped like a rock, and a glowing lifespan orb popped right out of his corpse. Jiang Li started screaming her lungs out, and the whole plaza completely lost its mind. Dajiang Industrial Security rushed in like headless chickens. The captain looked down at Song Fei, sprawling there with a bloody hole between his eyes. Before they could even process it, I snatched that floating lifespan orb right from under their noses. Still invisible, naturally. You should have seen them panic when the orb vanished. They started yelling about invisibility and screaming to check the cameras. Total amateur hour. They hustled Jiang Li out the fire exit to a black sedan outside. She was just about to climb in when I let another dart fly. Bullseye. Straight through the back of her skull. The big boss's daughter dropped dead right on the pavement of her own plaza. Honestly, I didn't expect to buy one get one free deal today, but hey, I'm not complaining. She was plotting to trap me, so why let her walk? It's a shame she dropped a few hundred days of lifespan, but with guards swarming her, I couldn't grab it. Dying in the real world drops half your tradable lifespan. Still, I walked away with over 1,000 days from Song Fei alone. That guy spent 20 million just to hand it to me. Wish I had my blooming curse ability to grab the rest, but that costs 10,000 days to extract. I slipped away, leaving an absolute circus behind. News of the daytime hit went viral globally in minutes. In the plaza, people scattered. I spotted Qin Xiaoyu and Chu Yan frozen in panic. Xiaoyu actually came to sell her life to Song Fei, only to watch him catch a dart to the brain. Her reality shattered while Chu Yan dragged her away. Back at Grand River Square, the plaza was absolute chaos. Footage of the hit spread like wildfire online. Cops swarmed the scene, scrubbing the security feeds. Imagine them scratching their heads over the green dart I left behind, realizing the material wasn't even from Earth. They had absolutely zero on me. I struck while totally invisible, and every witness swore they didn't see a soul. But here is the kicker on the replay. They watched the lifespan orb on Song Fei's body just vanish into thin air. The detectives were piecing it together, realizing someone actually went invisible in the real world to grab it. I could picture them losing their minds, trying to figure out how I dragged game abilities into reality. While the whole world was losing its mind over Song Fei getting clipped in real life, I was just trying to get some dinner. The suits in Shanghai City were freaking out, realizing our game abilities crossed over. I couldn't have cared less, knowing everyone else would figure it out by level 10 anyway. I threw on some sweatpants, walked across from my apartment complex, and ordered a massive bowl of noodles. Here is the catch with this game. You might be invincible, but you still burn energy. If you don't log out to eat, you will literally starve to death, no matter how much lifespan you have. So there I am, eating my noodles, listening to the guys next to me gossip about Song Fei's murder. They had absolutely zero clue the guy who took him out was sitting 2 feet away. Right around the same time, my ex Xiaoyu and her buddy Chu Yan were having a total meltdown in a taxi. They had just watched their idol take a dart to the head. Chu Yan was shaking like a leaf, trying to figure out if Shadow pulled it off. Xiaoyu was just sitting there, shell-shocked. She finally realized that in this crazy new world, raw power is the only currency. So what does she do? She decides her new life mission is to track down Shadow. She tells her driver to sell 200 days of her lifespan to buy a new apartment, just to get far away from me. And the absolute kicker, she asks for an assassin's skill book to gift to Shadow as a bribe. You really cannot make this stuff up. She was literally trying to suck up to the exact guy she was trying to escape from. Half an hour later, I'm back at my place, ready to jump back into the game. But my phone is absolutely blowing up. It's this timid girl from my old office, Xiaoya. She's frantically texting that our boss, Fatty Hugh, is losing his mind because I blocked his number. She says I'm fired and losing my paycheck. I just told her to quit her job and dump all her starting stats into agility. She asked how much lifespan I've made, and I told her I spent it all. She thought I blew it on a fancy car, completely clueless that I was pulling my game stats into reality. The absolute best part, she had no idea why Fatty Hugh was really mad. It wasn't about me skipping work. The guy was throwing a tantrum because I refused some shady under-the-table deal with the boss's daughter. Yeah, definitely not happening. Stick with me here, because you and I gotta talk about Qian Shishi. Just hearing her name makes me laugh. My old media job was owned by her dad's company. One day, this chick actually hints that she wants me to spend the night with her. Most guys would be doing backflips, right? She was a billionaire heiress, even if she had the personality of a wet napkin. But man, I had seen the spade tattoo on her leg. Absolute garbage. I wouldn't touch her with a 10-foot pole. Half the office already knew she was spending her weekends partying at hotels with random foreign executives. She just wanted me as her little flavor of the week. If this apocalypse game hadn't dropped, turning her down would have ruined my life. But in my past life, she packed up, moved to North America, and started the Alice Wonderland Guild. They became our biggest headache. She always worshipped foreign guys anyway, and treated me like a cheap toy. Listen, you and I both know how crazy things got when the game grounded every flight on the planet. I was doing the math, figuring Qian Shishi was stuck over at the Magic Capital Airport. She wouldn't make it to North America for a few days. Honestly, if she was local, I would have handled her right then. My plan was simple: stack up my attributes, head to the airport, and take her out before she boards. If she makes it out, she starts that Alice Wonderland guild that brought absolute hell to great Xia in my last life. Take her out, the whole thing crumbles. But right as I am plotting this out, my phone starts buzzing. It is Qin Xiaoyu. My jaw practically hit the floor. In my past life, I was the one begging for forgiveness, literally driving to her school. Now she is calling me? I stare at the screen for a second, pick it up, and just give her a deadpan hello. Right away, she is freezing cold. Says she thought I died in the game, and get this, she bought her own apartment and tells me to stay away. I knew instantly she was in a foul mood. Maybe it was getting fired, maybe it was Song Fei kicking the bucket. Honestly, I could not care less. I just told her straight up that I am done playing the overbearing brother. She wanted freedom? Boom, she has it. She was stunned, probably expecting me to grovel, but she doubles down. She says we are cutting ties completely so she can focus on getting close to this mysterious shadow guy, which, spoiler, is me. I just laughed, said fine, and hung up the phone. I turned the thing off, fell back onto my couch, and hopped right back into the game. I can only imagine what went through her head when I hung up. She probably felt this massive wave of relief, thinking she was finally free from my oppressive rules. Turns out, she and Chu Yan actually bought a 3-bedroom place together. She was probably sitting there hyping herself up, thrilled she could do whatever she wanted and focus on sucking up to Shadow. The whole world was buzzing about Song Fei getting wiped out, and rumors were flying that Shadow pulled it off in the real world. Chu Yan even tried to tell her she should apologize to me, but obviously she shot that down. Why care about her brother when she could chase a powerhouse? So they log back into Shell Town, and she gets her hands on this cheap bronze stun baton skill. She gets so excited she immediately messages Wang Meng, trying to offer it up to Shadow as a gift. Picture this, man. You and I both know how gamers act when they think they've struck gold. This girl, Qin Xiaoyu, was practically throwing a parade because she managed to connect with me. She figured being my buddy in this god-forsaken game was her golden ticket. But then my guy Wang Meng drops the hammer on her. He shoots her a message saying I didn't want her free skill book. She was absolutely floored. I mean, who turns down free loot with control effects, right? Her friend Zhang Wei actually called me crazy, while the others tried to guess if I already had the skill. They were completely clueless. While they were busy psychoanalyzing my rejection, I was already logging back into the game, ready for the real grind. So I spawn back in at the beach, and before my eyes even adjust, I hear this absolute blood-curdling scream. I'm thinking, no way monsters respawn this fast, right? The shadow's clear, and players are running for their lives. Chasing them is a level 8 golden nightmare called the golden arthropod. Lower half is an 8-legged horse, upper half is a centipede holding rusty swords, and a spider head with hundreds of eyes. It chops a warrior into 50 pieces in under a second. Then, one of the runners spots me. It's Grey Rose, the curvy mage who bought my ice spell. She yells my name panicked, warning me the boss can see through stealth. I didn't say a single word back to her. All I saw was a walking bank account. 28 evolution points, baby. I did the math in my head instantly. The golden arthropod has a level 2 anti-stealth ability. But here is the kicker, I still pop my stealth anyway. Why? Because breaking stealth guarantees a massive damage spike. I fade into the dark, and I can see Grey Rose looking at me like I am crazy. Her squad is wiped, so she just bails, leaving me to face this freak alone. I slip past her, dead focused on the boss, and trigger my shadow flash slash. I blink right through the ugly thing, slicing it up. 1,000 damage here, over 3,000 weak point damage there. But then I realized something annoying. Since the boss could technically see through my stealth, my assassin class bonus for attacking from a blind spot completely fizzled. No double damage for me this time. Even without the double damage, I was hitting like a truck. Thanks to my epic passive skill, the beast's weak points took 200% more damage. 3 of my 9 slashes landed dead on those spots for triple the pain. I mentally thank that girl Lin Liu for helping me find that temple. That combo ripped 13,000 health off the boss. I spun around and flicked a venomous dart right between its eyes. My agility was too high for it to dodge. Boom, 1,800 damage up front, plus a steady poison tick. Still, the silver tier dart was starting to fall off. I desperately needed a class upgrade to boost my stealth. Before I could finish that thought, the monster charged me at 30 meters a second. A storm of rusty swords came crashing down on my head. I heard Grey Rose scream for me to watch out, but I was already moving. You and I know how most players panic, but I just slipped into the zone. Sidestep, backstep, combat roll. I dodged dozens of strikes in a blink, The players watching were losing their minds, yelling about my reaction time and how I knew every move the boss made. They had no clue this was just muscle memory from 9 years of playing a warrior in my past life. Back then, failing a dodge meant wiping the raid. Especially when my old healer, Qin Xiaoyu, could barely keep herself alive, let alone heal me. I had to learn to survive on my own. Stealth is a nice trick, but with my agility, I can literally dance around these giant freaks all day long. Slash. Charge. Stomp. The boss threw everything at me. Sure, it could see through my stealth, but what good is that if it can't touch me? Compared to that golden ghost ship I fought earlier, this overgrown bug was a joke. I kept dodging effortlessly, waiting for my cooldowns, and chunking its health every time. A minute later, Grey Rose and her team watched with their jaws dropped as this massive boss actually turned around and ran away from me. But I wasn't letting my payday escape. I sprinted after it, caught it in the woods, and ended it. Boom. 7 evolution points, almost 500 days of lifespan, and 6,000 experience points. Then my greedy hand passive kicked in, rewarding me with a bunch of extra evolution points right off the bat. The notifications kept rolling in, and it was deeply satisfying. One golden boss just handed me 28 evolution points and 2,000 days of lifespan. My item combo was making me grow way faster than any normal player. Hitting level 11 requires a brutal 100,000 experience, so I didn't level up yet. But the loot! Man, my eyes lit up. It dropped a platinum tier skill called Blacklight Shield. Pop it, and every 20% of your dodge rate converts into a pure damage negation shield. I learned it instantly. With my epic dodge passive sitting at 75%, I could completely ignore the first 3 hits from any boss. This was going to be massive for exploring ruins and pushing into high-level zones without taking a single scratch. I spent 6 evolution points to upgrade Blacklight Shield to epic tier. Now, every 10% dodge gave me a shield layer, meaning I got 7 layers of pure invincibility. Pushing it further cost 50 points, so I held off. I dropped 16 points to pump my venomous dart to Jade tier, doubling its damage and the poison tick. The boss also dropped a platinum agility ring with heavy cooldown reduction, and some golden gloves for extra health. I slapped those on, and my cooldown speed shot up to 55%. My main slash skill only took 7 seconds to recharge now. My health easily broke 1500. I was doing the math out loud. With these numbers, I was basically an unstoppable tank moving with the speed of an elite assassin. Looking at my stats, I realized even that freaky centipede boss would need 3 clean hits to drop me now. And with my dodge rate, good luck. I was packing my bag when Grey Rose and her surviving buddies finally caught up. She stared at the corpse like I just performed a miracle, called me a big shot, and asked to buy some mage loot. Stick with me. This is where it gets interesting. I pull out a golden tier frost bounce skill book. It bounces an ice orb 10 times. I gave her the price, 800 days of lifespan, firm. She winced hard. 800 days is a massive price tag, but she knew this skill would absolutely carry her through mob grinding. She stared at it for a long moment, completely torn, before turning to her team to beg them to spot her the lifespan. Meanwhile, I am busy making real moves. I just traded a golden skill book for 800 days of lifespan. 800 days, straight up. My plan was to head back to town and buy coordinates for silver and gold bosses, 30 days for a silver, 100 for a gold. Do the math, that is an endless loop of bosses to farm. Right after I finish the trade, Wang Meng messages me, totally confused, saying Xiaoyu wants to gift me a bronze skill book. A bronze? I instantly told him no. It is absolutely hilarious when you think about it. If she knew I was the one who took out Song Fei, she would be coming for my head. But because she thinks Shadow did it, she is literally throwing gifts at the guy. In my past life, I took care of her for 9 years, housing, food, gear, everything. And she thanked me by smiling while she gouged my eyes out for that idiot. It is funny how people work. You give someone the world, and they treat you like dirt. Someone else throws them a crumb, and they worship them. I just let out this dry laugh. Song Fei might be gone, but there was no way I was letting her back into my life. If it was not him, it would be some other guy ruining everything. The only reason I did not put her in the ground next to him was out of respect for our parents. If she knew Shadow was actually me, she would scream until her lungs gave out. So, I brushed it off and messaged Wang Meng to head back to town with plenty of lifespan so I could unload some gear. He agrees immediately and pulls his team back. But on his way, he shoots me this random message asking if I was the big shot who actually killed Song Fei. Anybody else might have played it cool or lied. Me? I just typed back one word, right. So Wang Meng had me on his friends list, meaning he absolutely knew I was offline the exact moment Song Fei got folded. He had the timeline figured out. I could have played dumb, but I figured, why not test the waters? Let's see how these government types react. I straight up admitted it, which totally caught him off guard. He tells me they are 10 minutes from town and apologizes for the wait. I just laughed, since I was way out by the coastline grinding. On my 15-minute jog back, I slaughtered every monster in my path, scooping up 2 grand in experience, 5 evolution points, and enough loot to max out my backpack. We finally meet up in the basement of this busted old church in Firefly Town. I walk in wearing my veil and glowing gold gear. The tension in the room was real. This gorgeous cop, and Yu, storms right up to me in her silver swordsman armor. She looks me dead in the eye and asks if I really killed the guy. I just smiled and said, "What, you gonna arrest me?" So Yu taps her head, showing off her username Justice Executioner. I check the name, give her the quick up down, and I just gotta ask. So between me and that scumbag Song Fei, who's the good guy here? She drops the tough cop act and smiles, saying they saw the tapes. They know Song Fei and Jiang Li were gunning for me, and that their company was basically running a hostage sweatshop. I do the math in my head. They have absolutely no clue who I am in the real world, so they have to play nice. Last life I was clean. This time, I straight up iced 2 people. Whatever, time for business. I dump my bag, flashing all my gold and platinum gear. Since Wang Meng and Yu have that sweet government backing, they buy absolutely everything, and they pay in pure lifespan. When they saw the platinum drops, their jaws hit the floor. You gotta understand, nobody had even bagged a platinum boss yet. Gu Yixu, the team's healer, leans in with her jaw open. She's rocking this glowing white priest robe. I can tell her squad recently took down a silver boss, but honestly, next to my stash, their gear looks like absolute garbage. They stare at me like I have 3 heads. I shrug, tell them I got lucky with some chests, and remind Yixu she watched me pull an emerald book earlier. She nods like crazy, practically crying from jealousy. Then Lin Liu, their mage, leans against a pillar in her black robe. She laughs, complaining that I give Yixu a cute nickname, but just call her Little Black. I look right at her and say, "Hey, you want me to call you Blackie instead?" She just gives me this hilarious blank stare. Running with this crew is a trip. Let me set the scene for you, because you and I both know how crazy this gets. I'm standing with Wang Meng, and Yu, and their crew, and I casually dump a pile of gold and platinum loot on the floor. Their jaws drop. They barely survived a silver boss, and here I am cracking higher tier chests like peanuts. Then we do the math, and Yu holds the purse strings. I lay it out flat. Platinum Archer Skill Book, 2,500 days. Platinum Berserker Weapon, 1,500. I've got 9 years of bitter survival experience, so I know the exact market value. Wang Meng practically chokes. To them, a few thousand days of lifespan equals 30 million bucks. But platinum gear is a complete myth right now. Every megacorp and government suit would literally kill for this firepower as the real world flips completely upside down. Every faction out there was scrambling for early combat power. Cash was about to tank because governments were buying up lifespan like crazy. Anyway, I crunched the numbers. 25 items, 16,500 days. I tell NU I will make it an even 16,000. She just nods and says deal, not even blinking. Wang Meng looks ready to rip his hair out, begging her to haggle. She just stares back with these big innocent eyes, totally clueless. Then she opens the trade window and dumps the lifespan on me, even paying off the debts her team owed me. I left wiggle room on purpose, but she paid full sticker price. I wasn't going to complain, honestly. Good gear can always be flipped, and those skill books would make their leveling ridiculously fast. A second later, the massive trade was locked in. Gu Yixu got her hands on 2 gold tier priest pieces, and was grinning like an idiot. She originally wanted to play solo, but suddenly government-funded premium gear tasted pretty sweet. Meanwhile, I am staring at 16,000 days hitting my account. Once you break 10,000, the system switches the display to years. I pull up my stats and boom, 60 years of tradable lifespan. That is 22,000 days. Cashing that out right now means almost 400 million bucks. I pack up and tell them I am heading out of nowhere, and Yu grabs my sleeve. She says Dajiang Industrial locked up some players, and asks if I want to join their rescue op. Was she trying to recruit me? Or just smooth over the fact that I just murdered Song Fei? Either way, I didn't have time to play hero. There was zero chance I was risking my real-world identity. I laughed and told her I was an assassin, not a rescue worker. But I tossed her a tip: make your move fast, because once players hit level 10, game abilities cross into the real world. Her face dropped. She knew if Dajiang's thugs hit level 10 first, that rescue up would turn into an absolute bloodbath. I wished her luck and bolted. The whole world would know that rule in 2 hours anyway. Behind me, and Yu was already ordering her team to split up and power level. Anyway, I walked into the Firefly Town Plaza and opened a stall. My sign was simple: 30 days for silver boss coordinates, 100 for gold. I barely sat down when a shooter walked right up to me. It was old Mao, the guy who had been hanging around Jiang Li. Earlier, that rich girl Jiang Li offered me 10 million to power level her, and I blew her off. Old Mao thought he was slick and took the job. Instead of getting paid, he got blackbagged by Dajiang's goons. They locked him in a basement and squeezed him for his lifespan. I bet he finally realized why I turned down the cash. It was a death trap. Now here he is, totally broken and acting as Jiang Li's lapdog, walking up to my stall with a slimy smile. He claims his boss is offering me 300 million plus company shares if I power level her. He actually told me to cherish the opportunity. I stared at him like he was missing half his brain. This idiot had no idea Jiang Li was already dead. I looked him dead in the eye and said one word: scram. The guy completely short-circuited, standing there frozen. Listen to this. This guy Mao slinks away looking totally defeated. He just caught wind that I took out Song Fei in the real world without leaving a trace, so he wasn't gonna stick around and talk trash. But here's the funny part: he had no idea I dropped Jiang Li too. He's sweating bullets because if he fails to recruit me, his boss is literally gonna whip him. Then he overhears some randoms whispering nearby. They are going crazy, talking about how I didn't just ice Song Fei, but I also flat out deleted the Dajiang heiress because she tried to harvest my lifespan. They're freaking out, realizing the real world is changing fast. When Mao hears that she is dead, the dude looks like he got hit by a freight train. He just stands there, jaw fully open. Song Fei dying meant nothing to him, but this completely broke his brain. Mao Lijun is absolutely shaking in his boots. When he realizes that Shadow, yeah, that's me, took out Song Fei and Jiang Li, he loses it. He actually laughed at me earlier for turning down 10 million bucks. Turns out, he was the punchline. I catch him sweating bullets before he bolts. Honestly, I didn't give the guy a second thought. But when I set up my stall in Firefly Town, man, you could hear a pin drop. People are walking on eggshells. Nobody makes eye contact like I'm the Grim Reaper or something. Word travels fast when you drop a guy like Song Fei. I'm just running the numbers in my head. Older players are logging in now, but they're stuck in the newbie towns. Give it maybe 2 hours, the top guys hit level 10, and then I'm off to the mainland. I can wait. You and I know you don't hit the big leagues without gearing up. I figured I'd grind out some gold and platinum gear first. I'm at my stall when 2 guys in robes roll up with coordinates for a silver boss. Sweet. Meanwhile in Magic City, things are off the rails. My city has 8 million people, but they have 35 million with over 4,000 newbie towns. Over there, Qian Shishi, this ridiculously rich heiress, is parading around in flashy leather armor. She got stuck here when flights grounded, so she dragged 5 foreign guys into the game. She's blowing her company's cash on extra lifespan to buy top-tier gear for her entourage. She's strutting around, sneering at local players, calling us weak as cockroaches while fawning over her bodyguards. Classic rich kid garbage. Tony feeds her ego, and she eats it up. Then she gets this brilliant idea. She hears Song Fei got dropped by Shadow, so she decides to hire Shadow to assassinate some dude back in Shanghai. Guess who she wants dead? Me. She's still furious because I turned down her playdates in the real world. My refusal shattered her fragile ego. In her twisted head, paying Shadow to kill me is a 2-for-1 deal. She gets revenge, and she gets to network with the top player. She thinks she's a total mastermind. The joke of the century. She's trying to hire me to assassinate myself. You really can't make this stuff up, man. Meanwhile, I have zero clue about her little scheme. I am just out here hunting monsters, completely oblivious, while Qin Xiaoyu is off sulking somewhere because I finally cut her out of my life. Xiaoyu's master plan was to ditch me and sink her hooks into Shadow. That obviously backfired. She gets a system warning that her real-world body is starving, so she finally logs off. She probably thought she'd just order takeout, right? Newsflash: the game completely paralyzed the real world. No restaurants, no delivery guys. Suddenly, she realizes she actually misses me. I used to cook every meal for her. Now she's staring at an empty kitchen, trying to convince herself that starving is the price of freedom. Whatever helps you sleep at night. Personally, I'd already wiped her from my memory. I spent the last hour bouncing between 4 silver boss coordinates, wiping them out. Each kill gives me 16 evolution points. I ran the math out loud, and with my loot, every boss is worth about 4,000 days of tradable lifespan. Total gold mine. So picture this, I roll back into Firefly Town absolutely loaded down with loot. I hit up the contact the suits set up and unload all my extra gear. I check my stash and I've got 105 years of tradable lifespan. That's almost 40,000 days, bro. The math is beautiful. But I take a sec to admire my own drip. I am decked out in at least gold tier gear. Got my platinum ghost ship twin blades, gold ghost fire armor, and these new swift step leg guards and cloak step boots that make my stealth absolutely busted. My cooldown speed just shot from 55 to 75%. That means my shadow flash slash only takes 6.8 seconds now. The damage output is insane. I'm sitting at 28,000 XP. Once I hit 50 grand, I can finally do my first class advancement. Just gotta get my stealth to level 3 before hitting the mainland. I'm standing there, doing the math in my head. There are no platinum bosses in this starting town, but once I hit the mainland, you bet your ass I'm bagging that platinum first kill. Only problem is those bosses have level 2 anti-stealth, and usually take a 40-man raid to drop. Anyway, I'm in the town square when this sketchy kid runs up to me. He's whispering, "Yo, you Shadow, got a hit job. Good money." I start to walk away, but he panics. "Wait, it's just some nobody named Qin Feng." Man, I stopped dead. Kill Qin Feng? Bro, you are talking to him. I play it cool and ask what this guy did. The kid says it's none of my business, but the payout is 3,000 days of lifespan. That's roughly 50 million bucks in the real world. They aren't paying that because I'm hard to kill. They're paying that premium because they think they're hiring the legendary Shadow. You and I both know how hilarious this is. Somebody is literally hiring me to assassinate myself. I almost laugh right in this kid's face. This little rat is obviously just a messenger boy. So I start thinking, who do I know with that kind of cash who hates my guts? My real-world identity, Qin Feng, barely has enemies. Then it hits me, Qian Shishi. That spoiled heiress from the Qian group. She's the only one petty and rich enough to pull this. And the kicker, she just wants an excuse to cozy up to the famous Shadow. Whacking me is just a side bonus for her. If she really wanted me dead, she could have done it before the game started without dropping 50 mil. So I look this kid dead in the eye and tell him, fine. I'll take the job. Half the payment up front and I pick the time. The kid practically loses his mind with excitement and says he has to go ask his boss. Sure enough, a minute later, the kid opens a trade window and drops 1,500 days of lifespan into it. To me, that's chump change now, but hey, free money is free money, right? The trade clears, and I can't help but smirk behind my mask. I'm thinking thanks for the deposit, sweetheart, but the person catching a blade tonight ain't Qin Feng, it's Qian Shishi. Despicable? Maybe. But I only care about getting stronger and burying my enemies. The kid hands over my actual home address at Shanshui Impression. Yep, that's my apartment all right. I keep a straight face, turn around, and go back to buying boss coordinates. It's around 6 in the evening now, and the vibe in the town is getting real sweaty. A ton of players are hovering right around level 9. As soon as 7 players hit level 10 in the city area, I'm making a mad dash for the mainland. The clock is seriously ticking. Since this town was one of the first to drop, people here are already crazy high level, running around in tight squads. I'm minding my business when this chick in silver armor struts up. And I mean struts legs for days, bro. She hits me with this super breathy voice, "Big brother, I got a golden boss coordinate. You buying?" I look up. Not gonna lie, she's pretty. Nice face, sparkly eyes, but the absolute best part is her username hovering over her head. Milky White Snow. I kid you not, that's her name. I play it cool and tell her, 100 days. Pay when I see the boss. I ask for the boss's name, and she says it's a plague wraith. Now that's a nasty one. It radiates a toxic cloud that drains your health every second you're near it. If I'm soloing, I gotta kill it fast. She gives me this wide-eyed, concerned look and asks, "Can you really solo it? It has area poison damage. You want a healer?" I just shake my head. No need. Just lead the way. Honestly, if I wanted a healer, I could just hit up Gu Yikshu, but if I can dish out enough damage to one-shot this thing, why drag a priest along? Miss Milky White Snow leads the way, and man, her walk is incredibly distracting. Very calculated, if you know what I mean. We follow the river and hit this massive cave, easily the size of a football field. Right in the middle is this dead trunk spewing nasty grayish-brown gas. Step in that, and you lose 1% of your health a second. Good thing my ghostly blur gives me a 75% dodge chance. I hand over the 100 days of lifespan, totally ready to rip this boss apart. But right as I draw my blades, she turns to me, looking all guilty. "Hey, big brother," she whispers. "I should probably warn you. This is a trap. Once you start fighting, a crew with level 2 anti-stealth is coming to gank you." I was cloaked in the cave when milky white snow starts spilling her guts. She admits her master plan was to get close and dox my real identity. I had no words. What kind of garbage strategy is that? She's panicking, begging me to target her boss instead. I turn off stealth, walk right up, and ask who's pulling the strings. She clutches her sword and drops a name. Dongfang Xian. We all know guys like this all talk, zero spine. She begs me to wipe him out. Then it hit me. He's the idiot who tried to steal my ghost ship boss. He sent a skill book acting apologetic, but was plotting this nonsense all along. Funny thing is, I don't remember him from my past life. With how he picks fights, he probably got himself permanently flatlined early on anyway. Boom, another name on my hit list. I tell Milky White Snow to play along and let their guys come to us. It's been a minute since I sent anyone packing in this game, and my Blossom Curse needs a test drive. The math is simple: more bodies equal more lifespan for me. Snow nods and I charge right at the level 10 gold boss, this ugly plague wraith. No time to mess around, so I instantly pop my Grace of Deliverance, rolling right into a shadow flash slash. Blades explode all over this creepy tree. It has a messed up smiling face, and the eyes are pure weak points. Thanks to my damage amp, I'm hitting over 6 grand a pop. Add in my throat slit effect, and the numbers get absolutely stupid. 3 seconds in, one single skill, 80,000 damage dealt, and this boss is already down to a third of its health. Stick with me here, because you and I know how crazy this gets. I look at Snow, and her eyes are bugging out of her head. She's definitely wondering if I'm even human. Word is, the Eastern Sage crew threw 18 guys at this exact boss earlier. Half a minute later, complete wipeout. Their tanks folded, and they barely scratched 5% of its health. Now she's watching me melt it in 3 seconds. What she doesn't realize is I'm already doing the math. I instantly dipped 50 meters away into stealth. My skill cooldown drops to 14 seconds with my buffs, meaning I could end this fight right now. But honestly, I'm in zero rush. I'm just chilling in the shadows, waiting for those Eastern Sage boys to show up and hand-deliver their lifespans to me. Meanwhile, this dumb tree boss is just spraying poison at absolutely nothing. Picture this, man. The whole area is just choking with this thick, neon green toxic mist, right? Puddles of venom everywhere. Even with my stats, one bad step and I am absolute toast. Forget about regular players. You would need a fully stacked squad in silver tier gear just to look at this boss. And these guys barely have common rags. Then, out of nowhere, I hear footsteps echoing down the cave. I am chilling in stealth, and I hear this super familiar, annoying voice yelling to kill the boss. I look over, and no way, it is Iron Man again, still running with the Eastern Sage crew. I am honestly amazed he hasn't learned his lesson after I wrecked him. But here is the kicker, my plan is for Milky Snow to hold them off. Can she really tank a dozen angry dudes at once? Well, she answered my question real fast. She pulls out this absolute unit of a gold tier shield and just plants herself like a brick wall right in front of Iron Man's crew. I am standing there in stealth, actually stunned. No way she farmed a gold boss herself. She must have gotten super lucky, with an ancient god blessing out in the wild. Iron Man's guys start swinging on her, but every single hit just bounces off. They are doing maybe 5 damage a pop, and she is rocking over 2,000 health. It would take them all day to drop her in that narrow tunnel. I figure I have seen enough. I slip right behind her, still completely invisible, and let my shadow flash slash rip. The cooldown is only 6 seconds now, so it is fully juiced. A dozen guys packed in a tight hallway, boom, wiped them in a single sweep. A screen full of red numbers just explodes in my face. Most of those clowns dropped after a single hit. Old Iron Man actually survived the first slash because he is built a bit tanky, but too bad for him, my skill hits 9 times. He was dirt on the floor a second later. I am basically untouchable in player combat right now. I raise my hand and hit their corpses with Bloom Curse. These creepy crimson flowers pop up out of their bodies, sucking up all their tradable lifespan for me. Milky Snow puts her shield away, totally out of breath, and begs to add me as a friend. She is staring at the bloody flowers, shaking like a leaf. She knows if she crossed me, she would be pushing up daisies too. I accept the request and tell her to message me Eastern Sage's real-world coordinates later. She lets out this massive sigh of relief and tells me if I ever need any special services, she has got me covered, totally free. I swear I almost lost it right there. The girl knows exactly what she is doing. I bet those sweaty shut-in guys fall for that trap every single time, taking critical emotional damage. Anyway, back to business. I pop Graceful Deliverance and hit the boss room again, dodging around those nasty green venom puddles. The boss is sitting at a third of its health, just puking poison everywhere. Good thing I am built for massive burst damage. 2 clean shadow flash slashes back to back, and the big guy goes down hard. 10,000 experience points, 7 evolution points, and 555 days of tradable lifespan drop on the floor. I look at it and laugh, thinking about how cheap Iron Man's crew was. Look, I did some quick math on Iron Man and his pathetic crew. After hitting them with that Bloom curse, their remaining lifespan was a measly 300 days total. Instead of farming peacefully, these idiots came out looking for trouble. Unbelievable. I felt zero pity. I jogged over to the boss corpse and fired off Greedy Hand. I was hyped to see what a gold tier boss would drop. Scooping up the loot, my eyes lit up. A shiny new Platinum Assassin's skill book. It is called Darkest Hour, blasting blinding dark light for 20 meters. I was laughing out loud, man. This perfectly matches my setup. If I blind a guy, boom, double damage even out of stealth. Sure, bosses build up resistance, but getting 3 to 5 seconds is all I really need to wreck them. Bosses build resistance to negative effects, so a 5-second blind drops to 3 on the next hit. Whatever, I learned the skill. But check this out, I also pulled a platinum-grade weapon called the Plague Blade right off that corpse. It imbues all my strikes with poison that erupts after 3 seconds for 50% extra damage. I did the math, and that is basically a flat 50% damage boost. My old ghost ship twin blades were cool, but I am not running a basic attack build right now. I strapped on the Plague Blade immediately. I can easily sell those old swords for 3,000 sky coins. Next, I checked my evolution points. Between the bosses and random mobs, I am sitting at exactly 98 points. I am holding off on smaller upgrades and saving up to evolve my epic grade Greedy Hand into a legendary. I scan my skill list. Shadow Veil needed 13 points, Backstab 21, but Greedy Hand demanded 210. I knew I just had to keep grinding. The bosses in Firefly Town were completely tapped out, and I was short over 10,000 experience points. Back to farming regular mobs. I tested out my new Plague Blade, sprinting down to the coastline in 10 minutes flat. I started hacking away at level 10 monsters for 100 experience a pop. Doing the math, I needed to wipe out 100 of them to hit my first class advancement. It is seriously annoying that monsters in this game do not respawn instantly like a normal MMO. Plus, trying to spot those giant armored lobster things buried under the sand was an absolute nightmare. It was just me out there alone, swinging away in the dirt. Picture this, right? To these monsters, I looked like an all-you-can-eat buffet. They kept creeping up on me, thinking I was easy prey. But once they got in range, bam. 1 slash, dead on the spot. I kept this up until 8:30 at night, racking up 50,000 experience points. Hitting level 11 takes 100 grand, so I wasn't in a rush. I did the math, and dropping that 50 grand into my first class advancement was the real play. My shadow class hits tier 1. Stats triple across the board, agility jumping from 8 to 24 is huge. My stealth duration doubles. I get a +2 to my stealth level, and sneak attack damage goes from double to triple. In this unforgiving game, raw levels only get you so far. Evolving is everything. And the absolute best part, I can finally use stealth skills while already invisible. Let me break this down. Before, if your stealth timer was longer than the cooldown, you had to become visible before popping it again. Awful design. But now, as long as I don't attack, I am permanently invisible. Seamless stealth, baby. Shadow starts off rough, but the late game is just completely broken. I checked the time, 8:30 p.m. perfect for bagging a platinum boss first kill on the mainland. But here is the crazy part. The first players to hit level 10 besides me. Not the North American sweatlords from my past life. It was a bunch of locals right here from Jianghai City. Selling all that early loot totally paid off. Right on cue, the system chimes in. 7 of us locally hit level 10, meaning the one-way teleport to the godforsaken continent is officially wide open for business. Let's go. While hauling ass back to town, the real world was losing its mind. There were 7 of us at level 10 locally, but I had 50 grand in extra experience. I was lapping these guys. But here is where it gets insane, and you and I both know how fast panic spreads. Over in Los Angeles, some pro gamer hits level 10 and drops a nuke on the internet. He proves you can extract game abilities into reality by trading your lifespan. Suddenly, people across the globe are doing it. The internet just caught fire. People were freaking out, realizing that if powers are real, then my shadow alias really did assassinate that scumbag celebrity, Song Fei. Everyone started screaming on the forums about needing anti-stealth skills before the whole world turned into a giant assassin playground. Absolute chaos out there. People were scrambling, asking why I whacked Songfei over a game boss. The world was in full-blown panic mode. Governments were drafting cops into the game, using their hoarded lifespan to keep a grip on society. Then our government drops a massive press release. They officially bust Dodging Industrial for everything illegal gambling, organ trafficking, you name it. And they expose Songfei for messing with underage fans. They literally spun the story to say I was a secret government agent when I took them out. I had to laugh reading that. The suits were actually whitewashing my reputation, just so I would play nice with them later. In my past life, those guys were a huge headache, and now they were history on day one. I shot a quick message to Milky White Snow to see if Eastern Sage was logging off yet, ready to track him down. I kept my stealth up and strolled into the underground teleport room. Moving like this felt incredibly smooth. No more hugging the shadows, I just waited for the cooldown, refreshed my cloak, and walked right through the crowd like a ghost. The place was packed, but there wasn't a single level 10 in sight. The other heavy hitters in the city were busy or trekking back from the middle of nowhere. Zero chance I was waiting for them. I still had a ton of loot in my bags to sell, but I figured I would just snag a shelter on the continent and dump my gear there. So much easier. Right in the middle of the room, a shiny new continent teleportation array was sitting there, totally ignored by the low levels. I stepped right up the glowing platform, looked at the prompt asking to travel to the godforsaken continent, and smashed yes without a second thought. I stepped onto the teleportation array, and a massive flash of white light blasted up around me. I could hear players nearby completely losing their minds. They were yelling about the array activating, but nobody could see me. One guy realized it had to be me. Another dude whined that his anti-stealth could not spot a thing, and his buddy just called him an idiot, because my stealth was way higher. I was laughing silently to myself. Most of these chumps were stuck at level 4. The light took me, and boom, I arrived in the godforsaken continent. I popped up in the Shanghai city ruins, staying totally invisible. Looking around at the broken buildings and wandering monsters, I felt this weird wave of nostalgia. Right in the middle sat a massive, 10-meter-tall stone golem. An epic boss, just waiting to be woken. Stick with me here, because this is where it gets totally wild. Everyone dropping into this game spawned right in their own city's ruins. The crazy part? The geography perfectly matched real-world coordinates. I spent 9 years surviving this place in my past life, and nobody ever figured out what it really was. Anyway, there I was, back in the Shanghai city ruins. This hellhole doesn't hand you a bank or friendly non-player characters. You want to stash loot? You need a shelter, and the absolute best real estate in this entire dump. That was going to belong to me. I didn't stand around gawking. I bolted northwest to claim the biggest hideout on the map. Right after I took off, my old crew Yixu Liu, and the gang popped into the center. Totally clueless. They were busy admiring the scenery while monsters were literally breathing down their necks. The second their squad loaded in, 2 stone monsters called Earthshakers blindsided them. They were just level 11 normal mobs, but Wang Meng took no chances. He raised his silver shield while Yixu dropped a defensive buff on him. Ready, right? Not even close. These 2 walking boulders charged like freight trains, stomped the dirt, and launched him into the air like a total ragdoll. 2 brutal punches dropped his health by over 500 apiece. Yixu was scrambling to heal him before he got flattened. Then Liu stepped up, dropping a massive fireball on both Rocky Freaks for over 400 damage each. Her damage was absolutely cracked. But hey, that is exactly what happens when half your gear is top-tier platinum loot that I handed to you on a silver platter. Still, compared to me, Liu was miles behind. She burned a huge skill just to scratch 10% off a basic mob. Her team scrambled with crowd control while Yixu sent her owl to scout. It took them a full minute to kill 2 measly rock guys. The news from the owl? Total nightmare. They finally realized there were 0 safe zones here. Monsters were everywhere, and their scuffle was already pulling more aggro. It finally clicked for them. This wasn't a casual game, it was pure survival. Meanwhile, I was having an absolute blast. My level 3 stealth let me ghost right through massive enemy hordes. The local monsters only had level 2 detection, so I was completely invisible. My plan was simple: lock down my shelter, then go boss hunting. But I wasn't just strolling around. Every time my cooldowns popped near a pack of enemies, I would rip a shadow flash slash right through them. Those 9 strikes dished out 20 to 30,000 damage. For these scrubs, instant delete. With 0 players around, the ruins were an all-you-can-eat monster buffet. I tore through the streets, one-shotting everything and hoarding loot. After a 20-kilometer sprint, my evolution points bumped from 98 to 115. I even scored a level 10 Shadow Veil book. Popping this bad boy overwrote my old level 1 version. But since I had already evolved it, it stayed platinum. My stealth time jumped to 36 seconds, and my ambush damage doubled to 300. The cooldown stayed at 12.6 seconds, which was plenty fast. I pulled up my stats and did some quick math. I was sitting on 110 years of lifespan. That is over 40,000 days of currency burning a hole in my pocket. Fading into stealth, I stared at the busted ruins in front of me. Picture this, man, nobody knew that right under this rubble was a palace the size of a college campus. Over 1,000 rooms. Claim this spot, and I could hoard endless loot. The game called these places hideouts. You could try building your own, but farming materials for something this huge was impossible. The catch? Bigger hideouts meant nastier bosses. In my past life, it took 3 full squads of level 15 players to clear this joint. This time, I was marching down completely solo. I spiraled down into the dark until a heavy stone door swung open. Unclaimed doors invite you in, but once I owned it, enemies would have to break it down. I whipped out my pendant, summoned a silver-grade devout follower, and told him to guard the front door. My summon didn't have a time limit, so he'd stand guard forever. The perfect bouncer. I slipped inside, and the system pinged. Kill the boss, claim the turf. The hall was swarming with a dozen level 12 elemental spirits. I popped my darkest hour skill, blinding the whole room, then ripped a shadow flash slash down the middle, erasing 8 of them instantly. The blind survivors started blasting magic wildly. I just weaved through the crossfire and started hacking. With my backstab multipliers, my basic attacks were dropping 3,000 damage a pop, one-shotting them with regular swings. A full elite team would have been totally slaughtered in this tight space, but I cleared all 15 spirits in seconds. The floor completely erupted into a massive shower of loot and lifespan orbs. Doing some quick mental math on the enemy density, I realized this place was a total gold mine. So I'm standing there doing the math in my head. Once I wipe out the freaks in this place, I'll finally have enough points to bump my greedy hand skill up to legendary. I was dying to see what crazy new perk it gets. While I'm gearing up to tear this underground palace apart, Wang Meng and his crew are outside, literally running for their lives. Gu Yixu's little white owl accidentally leads them right into the zone I just finished sweeping. They're panicking, looking for a place to hide, and then they just freeze. The whole courtyard is paved with dead fiends. I had basically mowed the lawn. They realize I just butchered everything that was hunting them like it was absolutely nothing, and Yu looks at the carnage and actually says she's trembling under the big shot's crotch. Yeah, she really said that out loud. I can only imagine the look on Wang Meng's face when Yu dropped that line. He starts cuffing, telling her to watch her wording, but she doesn't even get why it's weird. Anyway, thanks to the massive buffer zone I cleared out, those guys finally get to catch their breath. They're standing there, totally spooked by how many monsters are packed into this godforsaken continent. They figure they better wait until everyone hits level 10 before trying to pioneer this place. Then Gu Yixu sends her owl up again and spots a faint gray glow under some of the corpses. They realize I left loot behind. And Yu guesses, completely correctly by the way, that my bag was just bursting at the seams because of how fast I was killing things. They start eyeing my leftover gray items, debating if they should grab them, and Wang Meng says he's gonna contact me first. So there I am, elbow deep in monsters in the soul-purifying grounds, when Wang Meng slides into my private messages. He asks if they can buy the scrap gear I left on the ground. I just told him sure. Between my space ring and a 7-slot backpack I found, I was sitting on 34 inventory slots, and it still wasn't enough for my greedy hand drops. I had scooped up all the skill books, but I left 5 low-quality weapons just laying there. If he wants to pay real money for my garbage, I am not gonna stop him. I told him I'd hit him up in an hour to sell a whole batch of gear, then got right back to work. My bag was completely maxed out, and loot was piling up everywhere, but I didn't even care. As long as I dropped that platinum boss, the whole palace is mine anyway. Plus, I had a silver-grade mob guarding the front door, so nobody was sneaking up on me. You and I know how fast bad news travels, right? Down on the continent, the panic was already setting in. Players globally were dropping into ruined cities and getting absolutely slaughtered. The chat was blowing up with guys crying about getting farmed by monsters, wondering how the Great Shadow me was surviving at a measly level 10. Well, I was busy working. I had just swept the soul-purifying grounds, butchering over 400 mobs and 6 lesser bosses. I raked in over 80,000 experience points and bumped my evolution points up to 205. Do the math. A normal guy couldn't farm that in a straight week. I just needed 5 more points to evolve my greedy hand, which meant it was time to put down the big platinum guardian. I heard a nasty crackling echoing through the halls, like a live wire snapping. I knew this palace better than my own apartment, having spent 9 miserable years here before. I took a few turns and stepped into the main chamber. Hovering over the altar was a massive monster made entirely of purple electricity. Level 15, Platinum Grade, the Soul Purifier. He packed 750,000 health across 3 phases, plus level 2 anti-stealth. That is exactly why I bumped my stealth to level 3 first. In my past life, his lightning melted me through full gold armor. But today? Not happening. I spun my plague blade, slipped in like a ghost, and let it rip. Shadow flash slash. Over 3,000 damage. Then another 3 grand right to his electric dome. 9,600. A critical weak point strike. I moved so fast, I was just a blur, slashing straight through his body and vanishing right back into the shadows. Before he could even blink, 9 massive damage numbers popped up, and my poison left him glowing a sickly green. A second later, the real numbers rolled in. 5 grand. Then 14,000. That was my throat slit effect bleeding him out. The guy was completely tight, swinging wild, but he couldn't see a thing. So, what does a giant electric monster do? He tries to blow up the whole room. Hundreds of lightning bolts formed on the ceiling, dropping in a fraction of a second. One hit and I was toast. Even my 75% dodge rate was useless here. This guy's accuracy was boosted well past 100%. Let's do the math together. That hit correction meant his chances of landing a strike were doubled. My dodge rate should have kept his accuracy at 25%, but against him, it was 50 at best. I wasn't sweating it. My agility was a ridiculous 182. Letting me sprint 40 meters a second. I just had to watch the ceiling and sidestep before the bolts dropped. For a normal player, impossible. But with 9 years of muscle memory, dodging this was a joke. Back in the day, we survived this on priest shields and blind luck. Not today. 3 seconds into the fight, my poison wiped out his first phase. 250,000 health gone. Instantly, a heavy shield popped up, and 3 electric orbs started circling him, locking his health bar tight. I had to smash those orbs first. I still laugh thinking about this fight in my past life. This phase wiped my team. My sister threw a massive tantrum and quit, so we booted her and cleared it the very next run. Dodging was a death sentence for her anyway. I waited for my stealth to cool down, then flicked a toxic dart straight up, sniping an orb. The boss kept spamming huge area attacks, but weaving through those bolts was second nature. I stayed hidden, flicking darts and flashing in with my blade until all 3 orbs shattered into sparks. Boom, phase 2. I didn't give him a second to breathe. Coup de grace. Shadow flash slash. I danced around him, tearing chunks out of his health bar. 3 seconds later he roared and pushed into phase 3. Massive rings of pure electricity started pulsing out, rolling fast across the floor.